I would like to call the Northborough, the combined Northborough, Southborough Regional and Union combined open meeting of September 17th. Is 5:31, and I would like to start off by having the chairs of each committee. The way that we'll do this is we'll do this in order, Northborough, Southborough, Regional, and then the Union. So at this time, I will open it up for the chair of the Northborough Committee to call the committee to order.
So as the vice chair, I call us to order the Northborough School Committee at 5:31. We are all present. Bryce is remote.
Calling the Southborough School Committee meeting to order at 5:31, and all members are present.
I will call the Regional School Committee into order, and we have Matt Spencer is remote, and we are Paul Desmond and Kathleen Howland are not here. I believe everyone else. And Chris and Chris Lacasse are not here. Everyone else is in attendance. And it is 5:32.
And I'd like to call the Superintendency Union number 3 into session. Chelsea Malinowski, are you here? Oh, you are. Sorry, I didn't see you before. Okay. So we are all present. Bryce McKnight is remote.
Bryce is not on yet.
Oh, he's not on.
Just so you're aware.
Okay. Bryce McKnight will be remote.
And just a reminder, we'll need to do roll call votes for the region, and then when Bryce arrives for Northborough.
Union too, right?
And Union.
And yes.
If we have anything for Union.
Yes.
So at this time, we're going to start with public comments. Are there any comments? Seeing none at this time, we'll move on to the second item on our agenda, which is the recognition of Mary Ellen Duggan, and I will hand that over to you, Greg.
Sure. So once again, Mary Ellen has received very deserved recognition. She was named the 2025 Commonwealth Heroine, and there were others. So just the award goes to people who have volunteered to communities and really have modeled the commitment to giving back and service. So Representative Kate Donahue nominated Mary Ellen. And I think it says, I nominated Mary Ellen Duggan in recognition of her contribution to the community in multiple areas, from her volunteer work with Northborough Helping Hands and the food pantry to her work in healthcare and nursing. She supports the people in the town and beyond, said Donahue in a statement to the community advocate. So I think that is an accurate description of Mary Ellen. So congratulations to Mary Ellen. And there was an article in the Community Advocate. You probably all have seen it. And thank you, Joan, for bringing that to my attention.
Are there any comments? Yes.
I would just like to thank Mary Ellen. I mean, she got us through these past years with COVID and keeping us updated all the time and our remote meetings. And she is even in attendance sometimes at our school committee meetings, just to be there in case we have any questions. And when I read the article that was in the Community Advocate, knowing that she was, besides her school leadership that she does so well for the districts, is that she's co-president of the Northborough Junior Women's Club, the outreach coordinator for St. Bernard's Parish Hope Ministry, and a member of the Northborough Helping Hands Association and Northborough Food Pantry. So I think she doesn't sleep. And I think she just gives back to the community, and I was so pleased to see that Representative Kate Donahue had nominated her for this. So deserving. She even needs more awards. So congratulations, Mary Ellen.
Any other comments?
We did buy Mary Ellen a trophy case. So she was getting crowded, so we.
Wasn't last year the Apple
Invested.
Parade she was?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
last
Apple
year?
Fest, yeah.
She was
Right.
the Grand Marshal of that. This year this. It's just the best.
Dr. Reinhard, Bryce said that he's just waiting to be flagged. I just wanted to let you know.
Oh, well, thank you. I don't see, let me look.
Do you want to email Bryce the link?
Oh, yeah, okay.
So at this point, we can move on to, there's seeing no other comments, we can move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the Technology Department presentation.
All right, so this evening, our plan was to have Kathy Carmignani and John Parent have a presentation on the technology departments. So Kathy was going to talk about the direct instructional technology, and John was going to talk about informational technology. Kathy, unfortunately, was not able to make it, and I just shared with her I'm appreciative that she decided to stay home. So she wasn't feeling well, and I know there's a lot of stress that she wasn't going to be here. She'll join us at the December 3rd combined meeting to share her portion. But this evening, we do have John Parent, our information director, and he's done an amazing job in the past year, leading the department, leading the district. He has been an asset to the NASA team. He is client-centered, solution-centered. I've been nothing but impressed by John's work and his thought process and his commitment to making sure that the technology is safe and secure and works for our educators. So at this time, I'd like to welcome John.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for allowing me to share what the technology department has been up to for the last year. I've been in this role a little over a year and 2 months. And when Kathy does come back to present, I'll be right next to her because we are a double act. We are the same, we're two sides of the same coin. She is the most important side of the coin. She's the instructional part, helping students and staff with the technology that we use on a day-to-day basis. I'm just there to make sure that it works. And I hope everybody can see the presentation. So this is just a quick overview of the technology department. The staff that I directly supervise on the left-hand side. Each district has 2 primary staff that interact on a day-to-day basis with staff and students. There's a more senior technician and then a more junior technician. So we have 6.
Does work.
We have 6 of those staff throughout the district. We've also expanded the department. Well, I shouldn't say expanded. We filled a vacancy in the department with a newly created IT infrastructure manager, which was a network administrator type position. It's more of a, I guess you could say, sort of like assistant tech director, someone who comes highly experienced from Leominster Public Schools. His name is Kyle White. He started with the district in May of this year. He helps with overseeing the day-to-day technical operations of the district. As you can also see on Kathy's side, we also have several instructional technology teachers. These are professional staff throughout the district. We also have the data office, which is Judy Davies and Julie Marshall. They handle things like rostering, application onboarding, and administering our student information system. So the tech vision for the department, like I said, we're 2 pieces of the same coin, 2 sides of the same coin. My goal for my side of the department is secure, reliable, and a simple running department. I feel that with the instructional side being the most important, everything else just has to run seamlessly and without teachers noticing that it's happening. We don't need the recognition, we just need it to work. We're going to make sure that there's equitable access to the tools that they need, which is not a struggle, but it's something that we're continuously making sure that with 3 different districts is happening. I'm just going to skip over this slide because this is a Kathy focused slide. She would be remiss if I didn't mention we had a large implementation this summer of improving classroom display technology throughout the 3 districts. Approximately 100 classrooms were chosen to replace their aged projection systems with these new line boards, these interactive whiteboards that you're looking at right now. At a cost of about $3,000 per classroom, this is a tremendous upgrade for the district. This is going to, our goal is to outfit every single classroom in the district with these boards over the next few years to create a consistent experience for our staff.
What horse? This, like this right here?
Correct. This one just happens to be on wheels. The vast majority of them are mounted on the wall. The benefits of these boards are you can obviously you can present things easily without having to attach your computer to it. You can also stream. You don't have to have a separate device to have to connect to, like an Apple TV or a Chromecast. It's interactive. There are 60 points of touch, so you can have multiple students go up and interact with it as well. And lessons can be recorded. So if a teacher is providing a lesson and there's a student out, they can record as much of the lesson as they want. They can upload it to their learning management system and share it with the students that are out of the district.
Yeah, one comment on that. So I got to participate in the open house last night, and I saw a bunch of boards. I would certainly encourage continuous instruction. I guess I'll mention that to Kathy, because I think the teachers, while they got instruction the first week, they probably need to be they need to be retaught on it, because otherwise we'll have tech that's sitting there not used. So all the things you just described, my suspicion is, in week 1 or week 4, they're probably using 3% of the possibilities that exist. Regardless, I will say that in the classes where they were using the board, it was just much easier to see from the position I was in the classroom, versus I could, went to another class that didn't have the board. I think it's something you should really consider. And I think we also should consider the feedback I was getting from the teachers is some teachers really want to be mobile. And so we should really consider paying a bit extra for some teachers to be able to move their boards versus having them all stationary. And I appreciate there's a cost difference, but something we should consider. Sorry,
No, that's fine. Thank you so much for that feedback. We're truly aware that in let me back up. The timeline for these boards, they were literally being installed a week before school started.
Yeah, sure.
And even the vendor itself, and we knew this too, is to not overload the teachers with all the bells and whistles. We want to make sure that they can walk in on day one and use the board just like they were using as much capacity, interaction as they were using the projector that they had previously. Because there's a million other things that they're completely overwhelmed with on day one, learning the students, learning how to take attendance. So each board comes with unlimited in-person and remote instruction. So we already have a schedule set up for that, and Kathy can speak more to that.
Out of curiosity, I guess, are we budgeting all schools in all districts to have this? Because
Yes, so this,
I like the consistency. I thought it was just for Algonquin, but I like the fact that Melican got 20. I don't know why.
so all
trot
three
here, but
districts
I mean-
had a capital article to fund this technology in classrooms. I would say Algonquin had the most ambitious schedule. It's a 2-year, so we implemented year 1, and during our budget process for capital, we'll talk about year 2. And
Okay.
at the end of year 2, the goal is to have all of the classrooms at Algonquin, and then we'll be having conversations with the Northborough and the Southborough committees around accelerating this project in those districts as
Yeah,
well.
I would just urge my colleagues in Northborough and Southborough separate committees to really consider, if you don't understand what these boards are, to have a think about it and really consider the fact that we should have our younger classes be consistent with this technology, and we should have it kind of move all in so it's not new to the kids, it's not new to the teachers. Just as an observation.
Thank you. This is just an example of some of the classrooms with the boards. Most of the boards are mounted on the wall, primarily for space-saving, safety perspective. Some of our are on carts, just simply because we didn't implement it district-wide or classroom building-wide, just to make it so that teachers can wheel them into their rooms, try them out ahead of time. Okay, so infrastructure initiative. So this is my side of the coin. So the last year, I've been looking at what the district has in terms of servers, access points, data systems, how things talk to each other, how things are being backed up. We made significant improvements in the past year with upgrading all the on-premise district servers. We spent about $70,000 on a server upgrade project, a modernization project, coupled with a community compact IT grant the district was awarded in the spring for $26,000 to add a robust disaster recovery appliance to Trotter. So that means we can back up all of our critical servers that are located at Algonquin that every school has access to not only another site, but another town. And that is just a tremendous boon to the redundancy and the availability of our critical data systems. We've implemented multi-factor authentication, which means that, I mean, you probably are familiar with this, when you get a code, either on your phone or a text message for logging into an account. This has been implemented district-wide for all our staff Google accounts. And that was critical, one, because of phishing and hacking attempts, but two, what we can now do is integrate all of our other data systems, health, special education. We start integrating all those systems to log in with Google, which means now all of those are as protected as the Google accounts, which has virtually eliminated accounts being compromised. The infrastructure IT manager position that we added is assisting me with performing not only an infrastructure audit to understand the device, get a complete picture of all the devices that we have, student devices, infrastructure devices, staff devices, classroom technology, but to make sure that warranty information is kept up to date, asset tags are kept up to date, make sure that, that we're able to create reports at a push of a button when equipment is decommissioned, when it's recycled. Tremendous progress has been made towards automation. We're trying to get away from manual process of provisioning accounts, whether we're onboarding a new staff member, whether we're onboarding a new student. It used to be a very laborious process of someone would have to get around to a stack of pieces of paper to make sure that a student had or a staff member had the tools they needed on day one. Now all the information is flowing behind the scenes, and we're constantly every day expanding that information flow. In disaster recovery, this is what I talked about. And back to my making IT simple. Over the years with cloud-based computing, our on-premise server footprint is only going to get smaller and smaller. We have a couple critical file and building management systems that we keep in-house and a bunch of infrastructure type stuff. But over the years, that footprint's going to get smaller. But we still have a need to make sure that that information is protected, one, but also backed up in case of a ransomware attack, in case of catastrophic hardware failure. So things like the Community Compact IT grant that we received, that's allowing us to back up all of our critical infrastructure now on our brand new servers here at Algonquin over to Trotter, is something the district has never had before.
John, so appreciating the fact that it makes more sense to have it in the cloud, have you done a cost analysis of whether or not we're in fact saving money, short-term and or long-term? Because generally what I see is you move to the cloud and there's certainly a year 1, 2, maybe 3 year savings, but ultimately as the prices go up, it ends up being more expensive. So have we thought about that?
So for sure. What we're finding though is a lot of, when you think of the cloud, it's not just one cloud. We're talking about, it's usually application specific, like our student information system, our health management, student services database. We're finding there's no option to have on-premise services for that anymore. Yep. So they are hosted. There are obviously cost savings if we're hosting them internally. We're not paying for external hosting. The flip side of that is we don't have to buy possible additional hardware to support the need of that software. Last fall, I'm sure some of you or most of you are aware, there was a PowerSchool breach with our student information system. It's cloud hosted. The breach was caused by a PowerSchool support vendor having access to various districts' student information systems long after they provided the support to it. So we're well aware that there's give and take to that. But we're finding that, back to your question about the cost-benefit analysis, that it's just not an option. A lot of vendors aren't providing us with an on-premise option. If there was a tremendous cost savings, of course, we would look at that. There are ways that we can better protect. We actually come full circle now with our Google licensing, for example. So we pay about $20,000 a year for Google licensing for students and staff district-wide. That provides us with advanced security, advanced auditing, additional storage, and we, as part of our disaster recovery plan, we're actually backing up our entire Google Drive infrastructure, it's in the cloud, to that appliance we got through the grant. So just as, instead of paying a cloud-based vendor to send all that from Google directly to another vendor, to have more granular file backups. So that, to your point, that's one way we're saving a tremendous amount of money, avoiding a service like that.
Thank you.
So it's been about a year and 2 months since I've started. Kathy and I started a draft of a district technology plan just to show where the instructional, where the infrastructure type projects are going with the district. We hope to have something to be able to present to this committee by the end of this year for review and for approval. But things we want to do is make sure that, like I said, my department is not dictating what instruction does. We're supporting what their needs are, making sure they're aligned, making sure they're happening in the timeframes they happen, and then making sure that those improvements are actually having an impact on the district. And that's the end of my presentation. So are there any questions?
Any questions or comments?
And I think you said the capital plans and stuff like that. So the idea is that you're gonna replace like the Chromebooks and things like that, all those types of technology things, as well as getting more TVs, screens, projection things in classrooms?
Yep, so when I started, all of the student Chromebook devices were all on different states of life cycle management.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're trying to do, we standardize on a vendor that provides for ease of maintenance, which really just means that whenever we have any kind of hardware issue with a Chromebook, we put it in a box, we ship it back free of charge both ways. It's freed up a tremendous amount of time for our techs to be able to support teachers. But part of the process of the audit and getting things organized, we've implemented asset management software that all three districts are using to make sure that those things are on a life cycle and make sure that those things are incorporated either in the capital plan, those replacements, or they're part of the operating budget.
I can't remember, are we purchasing or leasing Chromebooks?
We're only purchasing them right now.
Thank you.
And we are at the high school 1 year away from phasing out BYO.
Yeah.
I will say that makes a lot of sense, and it explains a lot. I guess I wasn't fully aware that we were doing this, but it makes a lot of sense as to why my daughter came home and told me that her Chromebook broke and she just brought it in and got another one, and I wasn't aware. I thought you had to pay for it. So I can appreciate the fact that not having to sit there and troubleshoot
Right.
and just send it back is the way to go. So it's definitely,
Right.
it's a good plan.
Did we change our policy district-wide for elementary students to not bring their Chromebooks home this year?
Not that I'm aware of.
It varies by grade level, so it's not consistent all the way up.
Okay.
Some grade levels do not take them home, and then the older grade levels do, but it varies by district, by grade level, so there's
Okay.
not one consistent policy.
Are we looking to make it consistent?
Across districts?
I mean, I guess for Southborough, like fourth grade took them home last year and fifth grade isn't this year. So,
Yeah.
I I'm happy to not have it come home because things happen. And I'd rather not send a broken laptop or Chromebook back to school, but I'm just wondering for the longevity of Chromebooks and maybe lessening the issues that we're having to send back, like are we looking to move away from them going home?
It's, I would say, and John, I probably should have let you finish, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I would say it's ongoing conversation, like there's, obviously the life of the Chromebooks matters, but it's really like, again, that instructional decision of in what ways the Chromebooks being used at home, what are the pros and cons of them going home. Sometimes it's not just about Chromebooks breaking, but it's about how they get used at home. So there's a lot of conversation about it. The needs are not necessarily consistent from school to school.
Okay.
But it does get discussed. I was part of a conversation today in one of the districts, yeah.
I would say that I agree. We're trying to define the why. Why do kids need these devices at home? But also, I think this year there has been more of a shift not to send them home than to send them home.
Okay.
So that's what you probably experienced as a family, and many parents are probably experiencing. And to your point, we are trying to talk about why. What's the reason why they're being sent home? How are they being used at home? How are they supporting the learning during the school day? Until we're clear upon that, then I think we're being more cautious.
Okay.
And
I
I
don't
will just,
understand.
If they are left
What-
at school though, they have to charge them at school though versus charging at home, so.
they do, which is part of the conversation. I think the other part of the conversation I'll just highlight is equity of access. Like there are times where if students are going to be expected to watch a video or to access something, we don't want to make assumptions that all kids have access if we're not having them bring their Chromebook home. So then that becomes part of conversation of, so then have we established kind of the policies or the practices around taking Chromebooks home? So there's a lot of different, like what's the why, what's the equity of access, how are they getting charged? Like it's from practical to purpose that gets discussed at all different levels in different disciplines
And very different at the middle school and the high school. We're not having this conversation at the high school.
Right.
And at the middle school.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. I do think that we were looking forward to Kathy's presentation, so to balance out. But,
Thank you, everybody.
we'll decide in December which half is. But anyway, thank you for your work.
We'll see how she feels.
So next up on our agenda is the superintendent's 2025-2026 evaluation timelines and goals. And Lauren and I met with Greg a few weeks ago, I believe, to go over those. And I'll throw it over to you to go into. And you also in your packet, you will find more information, including details about the goals.
So, just give me 1 second. All right, so I know most of you are very familiar with the process, so just quickly review the process of evaluating the superintendent. And this process is the same that we evaluate district leaders, principals, and the same process that teachers are evaluated in terms of the cycle. So it's a self-assessment first, so it's an opportunity for me to reflect on my performance, looking at the feedback that you have provided with me, to me in the 24-25 evaluation, looking at the rubric and what is expected me in terms of the standards, and then from that, doing that analysis, goal setting, working with the chairs on drafting goals, and then developing a plan. And this evening, I'll share with you a draft of my plan for the 25-26 school year. And then throughout the year, I'll be implementing the plan and then doing the formative assessment and evaluation, which happens in December. And then finally, a summative evaluation, how did I do achieving the goals that were set forth. So it's an iterative process. And then in terms of, timeline, I'm not sure what just happened. This new technology. There we go. John left. He probably did that on purpose.
You could come up and use the board yourself. Had you taken the class?
I've been trying. I've been learning. Yeah. We had a Algonquin Regional leadership meeting, and I did use the board. Not well, but I used it. I tried to model. Hang on. So in terms of the timeline, this evening I'll be presenting the goals to the committees. December 3rd is our next combined meeting, which I will provide updates to progress toward the goals. And then March 11th, preparation for the end of cycle report. So I will collect data and prepare that data for the committees to review. And then Cheryl will send out the official Google form, which has a collection of evidence and also progress for you to review as you think about my performance in this year. And then May 22nd, evaluation responses are due for each committee member. And then May 25th through June 1st. So I'll meet with the chairs to go through. The chairs will work on the evaluation. And then June 8th, I'll sit down, we'll review a draft, ask any questions that I may have. And then June 15th is the final presentation of the summative evaluation. And then just a thank you to Cheryl, who keeps us all organized. And again, she is the person behind the scenes, keeping me on target, keeping me on track, helping me keep organized. So just a thank you to Cheryl. So in terms of, that's the process, and I'll pause. Any questions around the process? And I'll just note that at any point in time, committees can ask for an update on a particular goal area if you have questions around, how is the goal going? It's not just December 3rd and that's it. You can ask throughout the year. In terms of 25-26, so first I began by reading the feedback that members provided me at the end of last year, and just noted a couple themes. One of the themes was SEL, just doing an assessment of how our SEL curriculum is working, is it effective, really thinking about how do we better utilize the data, so the Metro West data, other data that we have. So that is one of the goals this year, is to really kind of assess where we are, assess the effectiveness, communicate to families what data we have and what patterns and trends that we're seeing and how we're responding, and then really making plans to adjust. So if it's not working or we're doing something that's not effective, stop and then think about what that can be replaced with that's more effective. The other area that I saw feedback around is PE and physical education. So as you know, we're looking at physical education, comprehensive health, district-wide. But there were a few focus areas at the middle school level to take a more close look at what's happening, what the student experiences are in PE, so that is a note. Transportation was an area that, although last year was an okay year around transportation, not a great year. Implementing a new contract, so again, feedback that the work's not done yet, that we still have areas for improvement. Improving facilities, so although people appreciated the work in trying to improve our facilities, still people feeling like we're behind, that we're now at a point in some of our districts where we're playing catch up. So that is an area of focus. And then some feedback around examining staffing levels at the kindergarten level, making sure we have appropriate staffing, that throughout the budget process that we're getting input and feedback and presenting those issues to the committee so you have good data around what teachers are requesting. And as we move through the budget process, you have that information in front of you as the high school is making decisions around kindergarten. Just seeing who's listening. And then also some feedback around review of scheduling. So thinking about how we're using our time with students, thinking about when students have flexible time to kind of decompress, regroup, and that, that those types of breaks pre-K through 12 are really important, and where do they fit in schedules. So that is some feedback that I did look at. So those are some areas that I did notice in the feedback I received and tried to incorporate into my goals. So in terms of the goal areas, so I do lean on our strategic plan and the strategic initiatives. This year we did create an action plan that is more targeted and really tries to be more concrete around our actions. So we worked with the NASA leadership team and Dr. Reinhorn, Keith Lavoie, and Becky on really being more clear around what we're expecting, being more clear around who's responsible, not just listing large groups of people, but identifying the actual people who are responsible, who are people in the supporting roles, and then what are the metrics, evidence of success for those goals. So many of the goals that I've selected to kind of raise up as my goals are part of the work that we're doing as a leadership team. I will note that part of my work this year, a major focus for me is spending time reauthorizing our strategic plan. So this is 25-26. So the goal for this year is to really think about what is the next, the plan for the next 6 years, and working with, key groups, getting feedback from parents, community members, the committees, students, the leadership team on setting a plan that will serve the community well and students well. So that is a major undertaking. And the second area that is a significant focus is negotiations. So we're in, negotiations with 7 of our labor agreements. So our first task has been negotiating with our Unit A for RDF, NTA, and the STA. So that is a significant amount of work and preparation and thinking, and very important work in terms of making sure that we continue to have collaborative partnerships with our teacher associations, that we advocate for fair, sustainable, affordable contracts that will actually attract great candidates to our district. So that's work that I think requires a significant amount of time. And then in terms of the goals, I did provide you with a document that outlined the goals specifically. And similar to last year, feedback I received around, what is mid-year evidence, what is end-of-year evidence. So you have a benchmark of how I am progressing toward those goals. My goals that I've set are collective goals. So I'm part of a large team, and we've worked hard as a NASA leadership team to make sure that all of our goals are aligning, that we're all rowing in the same direction, and that the work that we're trying to accomplish through our goals is the real work. And I'd be happy to answer any specific questions or take any specific feedback from the committee.
So Greg, first of all, just your goals in general, however you wrote them this year, they're very specific and targeted, and I really appreciate that. I can really sort of envision these goals in action. So thank you for that. I did have a question about the equity of opportunity objective, and it is action step 2. By April 2026, establish a coalition of greater than or equal to 12 members who will meet bi-monthly to advise on equitable engagement strategies and co-design 2 pilots for outreach. Is that the Coalition of Equity? Is that something different, and can you explain this outreach?
Yes, so I think, so we've had a coalition for equity. I think over the past 5 years, attendance and participation has waned. So with Maggie Ibrahim as the director of belonging and engagement, we've had a lot of conversations about how do we refocus, really think about what our goals are, and really get more participation in the coalition. And what should the name be? So kind of rebranding, rethinking around its purpose, and getting greater participation. And then, thinking about community engagement, that part of our work is really engaging the community. So that is an important part of Maggie's role in the district. So thinking about, listening to families and parents and guardians around, what are engaging events, and thinking about 2 events that we can pilot and test and try to seek greater engagement.
I'm curious if in the planning to reach out to families and then have families engage more, whether conversations around interpreters are, and whether families who don't speak English as their primary language would feel more welcome if they knew they didn't have to sort of pull a lot of strings to get an interpreter there. So that's just something that came to mind.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Roger?
On the evaluation,
Yes.
Chris and I were wondering if the team you had that worked with you last year on the evaluation was the best team you'd ever had. Chris didn't ask me
Well,
that, but I know he was thinking.
I'm happy to report the team's even better than last year. So,
You walked right into that one, right?
You shouldn't have asked me to do that, Chris. I'm sorry.
Any other questions or comments?
To your point about the evaluation and the interpreter, I saw it in action last night at the open house. There was a woman who came in and was seeking an interpreter to go up to the classrooms because she couldn't understand the language. It was really heartfelt.
Great. Thank you so much, Denise.
Any comments? Okay, well, thank you very much.
it does require a vote.
Yes, so I will, yes, we'll go in order. Northborough,
Go and make the motion.
So moved. We need to
So-
formalize the motion.
but, yeah,
Yeah, so I'm looking for a motion to, approve the superintendent's goals as presented this evening.
So moved. Second.
All right, so, motion made by Joan, seconded by Kelly. Any discussion? All right, this will be a roll call vote. I'm gonna start with Bryce on remote.
Yes.
Thank you. Joan?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
And myself is a yes, so that passes, thank you.
now Southborough. What's the motion for Southborough?
Second.
Okay, I made the motion for Southborough. Denise seconded.
Right.
Any discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Thank you.
Who seconded that?
I did, yeah. Oh, no, Denise
I
did. No, I didn't second it.
Kelsey motion.
Motion
Sorry.
seconded in, but.
First and second.
We're just taking 1 second to catch
Yeah,
up.
just 1 second, this is a hard spreadsheet to wrap my head around. Okay.
I will make the same, well, I'll entertain a motion for the region.
So moved.
Second.
Chris and Joan.
Chris was first.
I'm sorry, who was
And
the?
Joan.
Chris and Joan.
And this will also be a roll call vote. Matt,
I'm a yes.
Chris?
Yeah. Yes.
Joan?
Can you hear me?
You're good.
Yes, thank you. Sean?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'm a yes too, so that's unanimous. And now for the union.
And so I'll make the same motion.
Second.
Thank you, Chelsea. Any discussion? All right, roll call vote will be Bryce,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Chelsea,
Yes.
Alan,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. So it's unanimous.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, so moving on, we have policy development and distribution. In your packets, you'll find the distribution of the approved policies that include the bullying prevention and intervention policy, A150, civil rights non-discrimination policy, A180, Title IX sexual harassment policy, A190, international out-of-country field trips policy, I-185, animals on school premises during school hours, I-250, and religious and cultural observance policy, I-340. Is there any discussion or comments on any of those? And there's no vote. Okay, so next up is the draft. In your packet, you'll find the draft school calendar 2026 to 2027. Do you want to say anything?
Sure, I'll
about
say just a couple comments that this is a draft calendar. I do not plan on convening the calendar study group. Last year, we made a significant change to the calendar, and I think my recommendation to the committees is to let that calendar, experience that calendar for a year or two before we make any significant changes at this point. So this calendar, this draft calendar, just basically replicates the 25-26 calendar for 26-27. And it is in your packet for review.
Just one request, if possible.
Yep.
If there's any way in 27, you could get it to end on the 18th instead of the 21st. Just seems to me, I appreciate we have the days to make, but.
Yes.
It just seems like Monday is just a wasted day. Sorry, it's a comment.
I'll just make
I don't know
one,
if it's possible.
I'll respond to that. So in the Algonquin Teachers Association contract, when Labor Day falls later, so next year Labor Day is on September 7th.
Yep.
The contract talks about they start the Monday before Labor Day. So I am going to have conversations with ARDA about potentially starting, as we did this year, on the 24th, which would then provide us with, an earlier end date. So I'm hoping to accomplish that.
Yes, Kelly?
Just something to note, after, I know we said we weren't gonna be just reconvening the calendar study group and things, but after we voted on it in the spring, or whenever that was, we did have a few emails come in afterwards saying that we, surprise, surprise, we missed some holidays. So, just wanted to put that on the record that did happen, and there is a few community members that are upset that their holidays were overlooked. So.
I'm hearing that too, Kelly, so consistent for Southborough, yeah.
Any other comments? Okay, so moving on to personnel update.
So in your packets, the personnel update, if I can find it, it is very brief. That does not mean that HR has not been busy. So from a leadership perspective, Helene Desjardins, as you all know, was appointed Director of Student Support Services, so that is reflected on this personnel report. And we have not filled the Assistant Director position at this time. We've interviewed multiple times and have not found the right person for the role. So Helene and the team are still going through the process, thinking about using this year to really evaluate what our needs are and really thinking about what is the organizational structure they need to do their jobs well.
Any comments, questions? So next is action on the minutes. So action on the combined open meeting minutes of June 16th, 2025, and looking for a vote. I guess we'll go through, is there any comments or questions on any of this first? So I will take it to the committees if we can get a motion to approve the actions on the combined open meeting minutes of June 16th, 2025. Starting with Northborough.
So moved for Northborough.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, this will be a roll call vote. Bryce?
Yes.
Joan?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. Thank you so much.
Southborough.
So moved for Southborough. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Roger. Any discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion for the region.
So moved.
Second.
And, sorry, my pen ran out. And then this is gonna be a roll call vote. Matt,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Joan,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kathleen,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and myself, that's a yes. That's unanimous for those who are present. And the union.
So moved. Looking for a second.
Second.
Thank you, Kelly. This is a roll call vote. Bryce?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Chelsea?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Myself is a yes. That's unanimous. Thank you so much.
Okay, so communications, I think there's none at this time, or are there?
So just have a brief update that I know in last year's budget process, there was a lot of conversation at each of the three committees around improving communications, hiring a person to take on that focus, and due to fiscal constraints, we weren't able to add a position. However, we did create a stipend position, and we were able to hire a person who can support some of that work. So although it's a stipend position, we do have a person centered on going to events, taking photos. We have created a mechanism for principals to request for this person to be at events, after-school events. The goal really is to try to, again, capture the great things that are happening in our district, being more forward-facing with those events. And then John is working on creating a social media presence, so Facebook and Instagram accounts to actually post some of these pictures that we're capturing at events. So just an update. It's not what we had hoped for, but it's incremental growth and a step to improve.
Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. So at this time, we have our second public comment section. It doesn't look like there's anyone in the audience, but would anyone else like to say anything, make a comment?
So just, this is more of a reminder, Greg Martineau, 53 Parkerville Road. Next Friday is Titan Games, so I will have Cheryl send out an invite. All of you are welcomed. It's an all-day event, but I'll send a window of time when if you can make it to Titan Games, it's here at Algonquin on Friday. It would be great if you could stop in, even if it's for 10 minutes, but it's a great event to see and participate in. 2 weeks.
You scared me.
It's in 2 weeks. Just checking.
Not be next week.
What is it, Greg?
Titan Games.
Titan Games.
What is
It's
it?
like essentially like Special Olympics, so it's the probably easiest way to describe.
So across our 10 schools, our Student Support Services Department and team holds an event, different events for kids to participate in.
It's a great day.
It's such a fun day.
Yeah.
I was actually able to go last year. It was such a
Yeah.
really
Lots of
cute
other,
event.
other students and teachers
Yeah.
and it's
The
a
kids
very
are so
busy, fun
enthusiastic
day.
about it and excited by it.
So in 2 weeks.
Okay, so at this time, we are done. I would like to call for our committees to adjourn, to move to adjourn. It is 6:25.
So moved for Northborough?
I'll second that. All right, any discussion? All right, roll call vote. Bryce?
Yes.
Joan? Yes. Kelly? Yes. Kristen? Yes. Myself is a yes, and we are adjourned at 6:25.
Bryce, don't go anywhere yet, you have to get out of Union.
Southborough?
I move we adjourn at 6:25. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Laura. All in favor? 5-0. Thank you.
Do we stay in session for the region?
Yes.
So the region will stay in session, we'll adjourn until the next meeting. I mean, we'll take a break.
Maybe you
until the
should move
next
your executive session up.
I have a question. Are we gonna stay on this line or, at present, I should be there in 15 minutes. So if you wanna take a break, I can break. If no one else is joining, I can just be a little bit late to the regional.
So I
Whatever you
think,
prefer.
so just a comment, so Kelly, who's not on the region, recommended that we move into executive session. Excellent recommendation. And Matt, are you okay if we do move into executive session and talk about negotiations without you?
I am good. I'm good. So
Okay.
should I drop the line and then I'll just get there when I get there?
Perfect.
Well, you gotta close out, he's a vote, oh, no, we're gonna leave it open, never mind.
You're good.
You're good.
Bye.
Good. Okay, I'll drop.
Wait,
Okay,
Should
so
I-
first we'll have the superintendency adjourn. Moved by myself.
Second.
Awesome, thank you, Chelsea. All right, roll call vote. Bryce?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Chelsea?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Myself is a yes. We are adjourned at 6:27.
Do I have to move the rebuttal? So welcome to the Northborough Southborough Regional School Committee open meeting. We are reconvening. And so let's start off with audience sharing. And there is no audience, I don't believe. Anyone else have any public comment? Okay. Next is action on the minutes. We have, could we vote on these together? We have two minutes. We have action on open meeting minutes of June 18th, 2025, and we also have special open meeting minutes of July 14th in your packet. Are there any questions or comments about either of these minutes? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to approve both the open meeting minutes of June 18th and the special open meeting minutes of July 14th.
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor? And it's unanimous. Next up on the agenda is educational policy. Approval of the Harbinger's overnight field trip to attend the JEA NSPA National High School Journalism Convention.
Sure, so this is your materials are in your packet. This is for a trip that I support. Of course, it's for our Harbinger school newspaper students to attend a conference in Nashville of the Journalism Education Association and the National Scholastic Press Association. Those are the premier associations for school newspapers, and we look forward to supporting our students and growing as journalists.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? So this is a vote, so I will accept a motion to approve the Harbinger's overnight field trip to attend the JEA NSPA National High School Journalism Convention in Nashville, Tennessee, November 13th through 16th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor? And that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
So new business.
So on August 25th, we welcomed 834 faculty and staff to the Algonquin Regional High School JFK Auditorium. So that is the only time in the year that we gather as 10 schools, 3 districts, and 1 community of learners. So I think it was a great start, it was a great launch. And Algonquin Regional High School welcomed 1,214 students on Thursday, August 28th. And Sean will share how the first couple of weeks went in his principal's report. And thank you, Chris, for attending.
It was a great experience. Thank you very much for inviting us. It was really well done, and I could tell the faculty and staff were excited to be there.
There's no booing of the superintendent.
There was no booing, no booing.
And then this evening we have some of our directors and Assistant Superintendent Reinhorn will share some of the work that took place over the summer. And we'll first hear from Helene about our ESY program.
Hello.
Okay. So this summer, we welcomed our extended school year program back to Algonquin. So we house the entirety of the program, preschool through students age 22, here at Algonquin. So a lot of people to thank, of course, everyone from central office teams, the student support team, Kate Clark, Deb Lemieux, our preschool coordinator Jen Henry, central office team members, finance, human resources, transportation, facilities, technology, health and wellness, and of course we thank Principal Bevan and the Algonquin team for welcoming the program back. Specifically, Mike Gorman, who leads the facilities team here at the high school, each year we work with him to ensure that the summer program has what it needs, while he's also working with his team to prepare the building for the staff and students to return in August. So it's always a tall task for them, but they do a wonderful job in supporting the needs of the students and the teachers. This year we had a new site coordinator, Michelle Moody, who is the Southborough team chair. She led the day-to-day operations of the building. This was, as I said, her first year. She did a really nice job connecting with the families and the students and the teachers to support what everyone needed. This is our 4th summer housing the program here at Algonquin. We continue to see the benefits of having everyone in the same place in terms of being able to utilize our resources really well, to be efficient in our service delivery for students. That includes everyone from nurses, special education teachers, physical therapy, speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, BCBAs. All of those folks being in one place just really allows us to be super efficient in what we're doing. So we had 180 students across the entirety of the district, so preschool to age 22. That includes students who were here for 3 or 4 days a week from 9 to 2, and students who just came in for some walk-in services. Each year we try to have more of our staff from the school year working in the summer. And those numbers are similar this year to what they were last year. We had 20 internal hires for our special education teachers, speech language pathologists, positions such as that, and we hired 7 people externally for those roles. 4 of those people are people who come back to us each summer, so they do other things during the school year. They work for other districts, but they come back and work with us in the summer. From our nursing perspective, 5 of the 7 weeks were covered by nurses who work with us during the school year, and we hired externally 1 person to cover the last 2 weeks of the program. In terms of educational support professionals, we had 50 internal staff who participated and worked in the program and 25 external hires. Again, we have people who return every summer just to work in the summer program, which we love. And then 13 folks who worked in ESY 24 returned for ESY 25. Also, some of those external hires were then hired into positions within the buildings across the district. That's always really nice because they get a sense of the kids in our district, a small, very small sense in the summer, but it's nice for them to meet some of the staff before they start working with us in the summer, or in the school year. A couple of the events that we did, we had a Touch-a-Truck event. We had the DPW and the Northborough Fire bring some trucks over, and all the students were able to participate in that event. We had several staff members bring their dogs to us in the summer. So Dr. Reinhorn, Michelle Karb from Milligan, as well as Kristen Schiavo, who is a reading specialist in Southborough, brought their therapy dogs in to visit in the classrooms throughout the summer, which was really, really great. Michelle Kalin did put on the fair for her students who were working in internships in the summer. This was great because we were able to have our high school students and our middle school students visit and see some of the work sites and the work that these students had done in the summer, which was a really great event for them to be able to see what some of their possibilities are as they move into the high school. So we really appreciated that. And then the last thing I want to share is just that we did send out an ESY parent survey in the last couple days to parents to receive their feedback. And so we'll be looking at that data as soon as it comes in. Any questions? Yes.
I had one that I wanted to ask you at the Northborough meeting. You mentioned about the parent survey, but I'm sure you take a survey at the end of the staff and everything. To see how you can enhance and make it, I don't know how you can make it better, but, what would we like to improve upon? Is there anything that came across that you would like to add to it if you had the funds to make it even more informative and more enriching?
So I don't know if it's a funding issue. It's something we haven't thought of before, is just doing more events. Like we did the Touch-a-Truck event. We had the dogs in. So we were thinking, when we think about next year, how to incorporate possibly either some field trips or to have, some people come into us, things like that. So it's not necessarily a funding thing, but it's just something we haven't thought of incorporating before. So that is something we're thinking about for next summer.
Okay. I think it's a great idea. I was going to mention about field trips, to go somewhere or, or even have people come in, even if you had senior citizens, even to come in, even to read to the kids or to share. Maybe they have some collectibles that they would like to share with the kids or how they do a coin collection, stamps or something like that. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So first of all, thank you. It's a wonderful program. My wife used to run the program in Shrewsbury for years, and I know how much she worked and how she took her summers off, and she didn't have her summers off. So I appreciate the amount of work that goes into it. So thank you. To you and your team, because it's not just you, it's everyone.
Yeah.
It's truly the 50 professionals. And I just echo what Joan said. If there's more, we're open to help. It sounds like you have plenty of money. Well, you have the funding. It's just sort of ideas and/or getting more people engaged. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Helene.
Yes.
So next is Selvi Oyola, who is our Director of Multilingual Learners, to provide a program update.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to see everyone back here again. This year we're excited to welcome a new member to our team. Our administrative assistant, Rosa Populis, has stepped into the role of that was previously held by Deb Young. Rosa has already done a fabulous job supporting our families, students, and staff, while she's also coordinating all of our interpreter and translator needs across the district. One of the biggest highlights of our summer is always our multilingual summer enrichment program, which is funded through Title III. This year, the program served 72 students in grades 1 through 12, including 5 from Algonquin. We were fortunate to have 8 teachers, again, 2 of our ELD teachers from Algonquin, Suzanne Simpson and Sandy Bansig, 2 ESBs, multilingual, former Algonquin student and a current Algonquin student who was part of our program. Our director was Lonnie Sotier, and 2 nurses, one of which is Erica, who's from Algonquin again, helped us make our summer program come together nicely. Before sharing some details, I do want to extend a sincere thank you to Principal Stacy Mahoney for hosting us at Proctor. Her team and herself were very welcoming, and we had a great time. We enjoyed being there. This summer's theme was sustainability. Students engaged in hands-on activities in energy, engineering, agriculture, and habitats. They focused on invasive species. They strengthened both their content knowledge and academic knowledge across different content areas. Middle and high school students did have a field trip to visit Clark University, while all other students had opportunities to learn from guest speakers, including a presenter from Massachusetts Department of Agriculture, who brought in a very lively, engaging, hands-on presentation on endangered species. We also had Amazon representative come and present one day on their sustainability efforts. The kids were thrilled. They had a lot of interesting questions to them. Our program concluded with hands-on interactive vibrant stations that have grouped our students across different grade levels, which is always a wonderful learning and sportive opportunity. My favorite activity was the long walk to water, where the students had to roll a marble from a channel to channel. So it was a really fun activity to watch. As we begin the school year, our ELD teachers are wrapping up their identification process, which includes records review, screening, and family conversations. Looking ahead, our department is focused on continuing to strengthen our curriculum and instruction, growing our interdepartmental collaboration, and continuing to partner with our families. On that note, I would love to invite everyone here to come and join us at our first ALPAC meeting, which will take place on Thursday, October 16th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. here in the library. So thank you for your continued support and all the hard work you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
It always is a great program, and very impressed in all the services offered for kids, and like the long walk to water is a great book and stuff. I'm wondering about future funding, if there's any signaling about, I mean, that was kind of in jeopardy this year, I believe, and if there's any signaling about that continuing funding from the government.
Yes, so we are concerned about funding for FY '27. So as we begin our budget process for FY '27, it's something that we will have conversations about. And how do we protect any shifting or changing in funding to ensure that the program continues?
I should preface because others might not know, like, that comes a lot from I don't know which title.
Federal grant, yeah.
Title III, yeah.
Yep.
And not directly from a specific line item that we approve, yeah.
I just had a comment from the previous meeting that we had, the combined meeting. A Southborough K-8 member mentioned that last night was the back-to-school night. And she was very impressed that there was an interpreter that was there for the parent. So I'm just curious, and how do you make those available to the parents? And how can parents go ahead? Maybe some parents who are watching tonight don't know that they could have an interpreter at such an event. How do you go about doing that?
So it warms my heart to receive a comment from a parent. So last night's event was the first time occurrence of our Language Ambassadors program that is just beginning to take roots here at Algonquin. So our multilingual students are volunteering for family events.
Wow.
And they are wearing a pin or a sticker that says "I speak." So they work with our ELD teachers to kind of preview what the event is like, where to meet the families. Then Rosa, our new assistant, reaches out to the families who require interpretation and or translation and confirms to see if they're coming. And we encourage them to always come and join us at these open houses. And then we inform them that there will be an interpreter at the rotunda waiting for you. Look for the pin or the sticker that says "I speak so-and-so language." Yes.
Wow.
For other events, we do have interpreters and translators employed under us, working for us.
So what was the name of the program?
Language Ambassadors.
Language Ambassadors. And is this the first year for it?
Yes, yeah. It
This
is.
was the first event then?
It was the first event, yeah.
And how many language ambassadors do you have?
It was only 3 last night.
How many?
3 as of,
That's
you know,
better
as
than
of
one.
yesterday, but it is, like I said, it was our
Unbelievable.
first go, and it is work that is currently being done, and we hope to extend it to our middle schools as well.
That is wonderful. I can see that that's would be a plus on a student's resume and a college
Absolutely.
application. I think that is absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely, and we're working on it again collaboratively. We're working with Michelle Kalin. There are opportunities for our students to discover pathways as career opportunities as interpreters and translators. There are free trainings for them to attain as to gain knowledge in that field. So there's good things coming up on that front, and I hope it stays.
And I'll just add that Selby also collaborates with Emily Squires, who's the department head for the World Language Department.
Okay.
And really the focus in world language being on proficiency-based world language education. The idea is not just that you can take a test on paper, but that you can actually understand, speak, and we have many, many students now achieving the seal of biliteracy. So this is something that Selby and Emily also collaborate on, so that kids can see the applicability of these skills and sometimes, and really just see the richness of being multilingual and the opportunities that come with it.
That's wonderful. So I was thinking of the funding when that school committee member mentioned it. I was thinking, okay, it's a paid interpreter that we had, or a staff member who maybe volunteered the time, but knowing that we have students who are doing this, this is fabulous. It's just like another kudos to why this is one of the best schools in the region. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
It's a state, actually.
State, I was going to, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Selby.
Thank you.
And now I'll turn it over to Keith Lavoie, Assistant Superintendent of Operations, to talk about very exciting
The fun stuff.
transportation all things facilities, and he's gonna
Where's my bus?
bring it home with a capital
None in
plan
phase three
projects
done?
update.
Phase three, yes, all sorts of phases. Yes, well, thank you. So I will have the pleasure of giving an update on transportation facilities and then some of the capital projects here at the high school. So we'll start with transportation, always the great topic, and it's good that it is not a topic for the start of school. We're actually off to a very good start. There weren't any significant changes for the Algonquin routes. A lot of fine tuning was done. The process does start in January and really hits hard in May, where we do reach out to families about their anticipation of need for the upcoming year, whether students will or will not need a bus through a registration process. That was something we started at Algonquin 4 years ago, and it really yielded some good information about ridership and just some other needs that families would need. And especially as kids progress through high school, they may be driving to school. So it's good to get that information as soon as possible. It's not a binding registration by any stretch, so if a kid's needs change throughout the years, where they can easily be added back into the program. But it does help us with our planning as we get into the summer months. And so the second piece of that is, as Greg mentioned earlier, we are in a new contract with NRT. So we are working on a variety of different technologies that are being installed. The highlight so far for the start has been Beacon Connect. That is the new parent tracking app that's being used throughout the district. We are one of the first districts to use it. So what I would say, and I've said this to all the committees, and if you hear from anyone, is do engage with their support. If anyone is logging in but is struggling with getting the notifications, what I have found that is that every parent that is engaged with their support has had has had their situation rectified. And actually, I just heard from Laura Kaufman. She was one that contacted me a couple days ago, and within 24 hours, she now gets all the notifications that she would want. So if you do hear anything about that, do encourage them to contact me certainly, or Beacon Connect direct, and we are getting favorable responses. So. In addition, yeah, go ahead, Sean.
What is it?
Beacon Connect.
Like, what does it actually do? Like,
It's same as what we had before, like Where Is My Kid? I hate even saying it. It's the worst app name known to man.
Yeah.
But basically, it's a GPS system that, parents are allowed access to through special codes and getting the assignment of the bus, and ultimately allows you to send up a notification when that bus gets within a half mile of your house, so you know that it's on its way. Or conversely, in the afternoon. Uber. Yes.
It's like Uber, your driver's almost here.
Probably not with all the, the nice emojis and the funky language, but it's a simple notification system when it's working well.
So it tracks
can be
the
very
bus
helpful.
and not the child.
Yes. Correct.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
So speaking of that, that is something that is part of the new contract, is actually being able to track our students and the ridership. So that's one of the technology pieces that's ongoing that we're pushing to have done, as well as the stop arm cameras and some live feed cameras into the buses. So those are part of this new contract that are going to be installed within the next few months.
And so they're not there yet?
Not there yet, no.
I'm sorry, how are you going to track the students? They have to.
RFID. So as RFID cards like we have here, so I can code into.
Students carrying their cards.
Students will carry one.
So I think
Correct.
when we think about the contract, it's across all 10 schools.
Yep.
The high school students were least concerned about monitoring their, when they arrive and get off buses and on buses. So we're going to start at the elementary level.
Sure.
And potentially evaluate whether this makes sense at the high school level.
Correct.
It's just like hearing, after all we went through with the contract, and hearing that those pieces that were agreed to in the contract aren't in place yet and might be in the next 3 months is a concern. Like that's a frustration for me. Just that.
You should be frustrated.
Yeah.
We should be
Are we
frustrated.
withholding payment?
So I think that,
We put mechanisms in there just for some of this.
yeah, so Keith is working on the accountability piece and holding NRT accountable. So there's accountability language in the contract, so Keith has that task.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think that was a problem last time, is that we kind of let that lapse, and, if you give a cookie a mouse.
Well,
what
we-
is that?
If you give a mouse a cookie.
thank
So
you.
we-
And I want to make sure we start
Yeah.
off with, backing up with what we said in our expectations.
So in the prior contract, there was accountability, financial, fees, and we did collect those in the past contract. It wasn't as if we did not implement those, when they didn't meet expectation. Becky was on top of in terms of getting that funding back. But again, Keith, one of the areas for this year is accountability.
Yeah.
Holding NRT accountable.
And the good thing that we've done, and we've done it for the past probably a couple of years, is we do have a daily tracking sheet that we are keeping, whether it be the AM or PM and across the district, whether or not we are seeing any of those violations occur. So we're not just waiting to reconcile that at the end of the month. We're doing that work daily so that we do keep up with it. And in fact, I am reviewing the first couple of weeks to see where we land.
Yeah, no, it was more about the cameras and the other technology pieces that were a big add-on expense, and like, it should be prorated or something if it's not there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the technologies that we think are important to get up and running, they should have been up and running at the start of the school years. The live feed cameras on the buses,
yeah.
The Beacon Connect for the high school,
which it is,
and then the other piece was turn by turn for the drivers. So they're not holding maps, that, again, their routes are sent to them, they have them, and the directions are given. So those are our focus areas right now. RFID is a secondary concern, and we're also in the process of doing the stop arm camera, so that if a bus is passed, they get the video of it.
Because those were additional fees that we had to pay, right?
Yeah,
that's correct.
That's all I was thinking.
And I will just add that we have not seen an invoice yet for this school year. It's the middle of September, so we will probably see it, I'd say, the beginning of October. And when we receive that invoice, we will be reviewing it and determining, what it is that we will pay and will not pay. We'll see what they invoice us for.
Yeah, great.
I was just going to ask, do we have an agreement in place with Northborough and Southborough PD that when those cameras are in place that
So we did have conversations. The mechanism actually to receive those funds was overly complicated. So the actual ticket, it doesn't go directly to Northborough, Southborough, it goes to the state, and then they get a monthly. So we thought it was important to get to to have a conversation around offsetting the costs. However, after talking with Chief Griffin and Chief Newell, we decided that it's still important, and we're not going to be able to offset the costs with fees from tickets.
I'm sorry. You take a picture of someone passing the bus, it goes to the state?
So no, when you get a speeding ticket or a ticket, so if someone passes a bus, review the video, and the police give the person a ticket, the fee that they pay on that ticket goes directly to the state, and then the towns get reimbursed for that. So it's not as if it goes directly to the police department, and the police department then can give it to us and we can offset the cost. So when you're issued a speeding ticket, John, that the department, the Southborough Police Department does not see that money immediately. They have to wait to get reimbursed from the state.
And one of the things that, can happen now is that when we do see violations, that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. So if a driver reports that something is unsafe in any form, there are cameras that can pick it up. It's not the stop arm cameras that will be installed, but there have been times where we have, pursued that with the cooperation of the police department for a citation. So, we can now lean more on the technology to be a little better in picking up the license plate and other identifiers to make it easier when that's installed.
Positives.
Very.
So, great start. Keith
No,
did a lot of
really,
work over the summer with Sheila. Buses are running on time.
They are, and one of the key changes to this, and it's not technology based, is that part of the new contract is NRT is assuming responsibility for the routing, which is a significant change that we've had before. And it makes a lot of sense because they have the more direct contact with the drivers. They need to get that feedback from drivers, make better decisions, and it streamlines the ability to communicate. So I'm very pleased with NRT's response to not only having that responsibility, but working with families as the year starts. As you've known, it can be extremely overwhelming, the amount of, communications that come our way, and it was either myself and or Sheila, who also, does an incredible job with this, but it was the two of us. Now it wasn't just the two of us. Now we had a team at NRT responding. So the response rates were better, more complete, and we feel like we were able to stay ahead versus always, playing catch up. So that had an immediate impact on the performance and the customer service.
And then drivers.
Drivers, every seat's filled. So we've had a couple of unexpected absences, but the best part is that they have a nice cadre of subs that were trained and ready to step right in, and we had very little delay. Maybe it'll take a day for someone to get acclimated, but that's all that we've experienced so far, which is very favorable considering prior experience. Facilities, yes. All right, certainly like Colleen had mentioned, special thanks to Mike Gorman and his team for getting Algonquin ready. As you guys know, it's a 350,000 square foot building, and when it is used throughout the summer, it does interrupt that, but they are able to make adjustments with a lot of extra work, so huge thanks to Mike and his team. I hear from Sean regularly that people are very, very happy with the condition of the building upon returning to school, and that's a combination not just of the cleaning, but the maintenance of things. So there was a bunch of items that Mike was able to get accomplished this year during the summer months, and very happy with the condition as things stand right now. On the larger scale for capital projects, we've definitely had a tremendous support from this group to move some of our capital projects forward, and that's been appreciated. We had a number of those projects take place over the last fiscal year and kind of wrap up over the summer. These are small, some of them are small projects like software updates, up to more larger projects like adding the redundant hot water system to Algonquin and the amenities building, which I'll talk about later in the agenda. So just a couple of the highlights is we were able to complete the construction of phase 2 of solar on the building. So it is constructed, the panels are in place, and we're in the permitting stages. So our expectation is that they will go live and turn on probably sometime in the spring of 26. It is a long process with National Grid from permitting and all the things that have to happen on their end. So we will report back when they have been turned on, and Becky will let me know because we start to get the bills. So phase 2 is installed and complete, and we got the porta potty out of the front lot, thankfully. That was always a good thing. The plumbing upgrades. The major one was the addition of the redundant hot water system. We were able to add that, so now we do have that secondary layer, so we aren't exposed with a single point of failure. That was a successful project that happened earlier in the summer, and things have been tweaked to make sure that it's good to go, and it was operational for the start of school. So certainly behind the scenes, but a very important system that is now in place. Coupled with that, on the plumbing upgrades, we replaced some of the larger Victaulic fittings that are in the building. These are very large valves that can be temperamental at times. We now have a set of those new in the building, which were problematic in the past. So we're looking forward to when we go from the cooling to the heating season, when we flip that switch to see how they perform and respond, but we're in a good shape with those as we make that adjustment. The next item is the lighting software. So not only for the efficiency of our lighting system, this software update was long overdue. It was installed over the summer, and now we're making kind of system changes to make sure we're maximizing those capabilities. But Mike and his team have the upper hand on that, and we are expecting hopefully some energy savings down to the road due to that upgrade. And then looking ahead, one of the important pieces that was approved last spring was the approval of some needed roof repairs to the locker room, boiler room, and cafeteria sections. Thanks to the help of Becky, we are just going out to bid for that project in the next couple of weeks, and we hope to at least get it started before the winter months. So that would close out our FY26 capital projects.
And just add that John already presented the significant project with around technology.
Correct. Right. That was the other item.
Thank you, Keith.
You're welcome.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Just on the bid are you only allowed to go to bid when you have the funding secured from us?
You can, typically that is the case, but you could put in the bid subject to funding. We've done, in the past, we've done that like on an MSBA project, where we knew it was going to a town meeting vote, and actually we did it with the
Athletic
athletic
complex.
complex as well, where we went out to bid, but we did put in the specifications subject to funding. It just gives us a better sense of the amount that we are then requesting of the
Historically,
town.
just done it on larger scale projects.
Correct.
Yes, yeah.
And lastly, we have Dr. Reinhorn, Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, to provide a PD update.
Thank you. Low profile, but there is some PD that happens over the summer, so I wanted to share that we have a process where educators can apply to participate in or lead professional development, and we did have a few groups from the high school this summer. One was related to Selvi collaborating with our elementary, our K through 8 literacy coordinator, and it was for ELD teachers, so our English language development teachers, and one of our high school teachers participated in this. This was a cross-district PD, and that was really about learning a foundational skills program to support our multilingual learners who sometimes are still learning to read. They maybe have had interrupted schooling, and so this sometimes is relevant in the high school as well. So that was one opportunity, and the other was a group of Algonquin educators who are playing a really significant role in the high school this year in leading professional development related to universal design for learning as a peer-led initiative that I'm sure we'll hear about throughout the year from Principal Bevan, but they did summer professional development as the leaders of this work to prepare for, learn more themselves, and prepare for then leading their peers. So those were two exciting summer professional development opportunities. And then we really kick off coming back to the school year with our NASA retreat, so bringing our administrators together for some time for our learning. And a big focus of that work this year was on our strategic initiatives and school improvement plans and aligning all the way from our individual goals as administrators to the school goals and the district goals. So we had a great retreat and then pretty quickly moved into—
From our opinion.
From our opinion, right. Pretty quickly moved into new teacher orientation. And right here in this space, again, this is a cross-district event, but it's a really nice time to welcome people into our district and orient them to some of the people and they get to meet the NASA team, but then meet each other, meet their mentors, and learn a little bit about what we're all about, what our values, our mission, our vision, and our key kind of strategic initiatives are. You heard a little bit earlier, then we welcome everyone back here in the auditorium, and Superintendent Martineau kind of launches the year. And that is the beginning of 3 days that include a bit of a 3-ring circus. There is a lot going on in that time. So there's everything ranging from special educators meeting with their counterparts and making sure people know the students that are coming to them. There was professional development about the new line boards for those who, are needing to learn more about using those. There's safety care training, which is for people to learn about de-escalation and how to deal with if a student is dysregulated and we need to, respond in that moment. There's curriculum mapping work that was going on. Our comprehensive health and PE teachers were working with an outside consultant working on scope and sequence and curriculum mapping, and more and more and more. So lots going on. Sean and the team really leading the way here at the high school in terms of setting the tone and sort of kicking off the year for the professional learning. And then we kind of carry that forward as we go through the year. So I think that kind of captures most of it.
Great. So busy time during the summer, so the work does not stop. And thank you to Helene, Selvi, Keith, Stephanie, and am I missing anyone?
Many others
Many
that
others,
make
yeah.
this all happen.
Becky.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a lot of work, and it's important work, and it's great for kids, and also making sure that we have our year set up well, so it's a successful year.
Can I add one item on facilities? I think it's in your department, to the food service provider. early returns it seems favorable.
Excellent. Excellent. Yes. So that's also a new contract for us, bringing in a food services management company. We had been self-operating forever. This is the first time we've done it. And we are off to a good start. You know, I think there's things that we are continuing to review and possibly adjust, but the response so far has been very favorable. I would agree.
Some records have been broken.
Yes,
So-
daily lunch counts have been broken, positively,
Is that just at Algonquin or across the whole?
across the district, all 10 schools.
Did we let go of all the staff? Or
No,
they
they're all
became-
still ours.
They just serve other people's food?
So all of this staff, all of our kitchen staff up till the cafeteria managers remain district employees. But we brought in the food services management company with the support of a director to oversee it and to manage it.
Yeah, and I'll add that this is probably the one item that I've gotten the most positive feedback about ever on my time on school committee. And people are very glad that the cookie is back. That was the one complaint I had.
Working on it.
Taking too long.
It is taking too long, but we are still working on that, Jen.
Yeah, I'll say my son hasn't eaten cafeteria food ever, and he eats it every day now, so.
Principal Bevan ate it today, too.
Excellent.
Did you put in a review?
Cheeseburger? Bacon cheeseburger today?
No, it was a burrito bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Quite good.
So for the high school, do they still have the stations like they used to?
Yes.
They got a ton of.
They're
choices.
different. Now
Have
they're
they
different.
added more to it?
They did.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a ton.
Yeah. Which I do want to compliment the staff. They have had to endure this change. It's been a significant change, and one we are trying to calibrate the right way for them. But they're tired. The first couple weeks here have been tough, and so we are listening to that and making the calibration. I give them a lot of credit, especially at the high school. This is where we hit our record meal count, daily count. The highest number last year was just broken by 20 meals 2 days ago. So, yeah,
Wow.
haven't had that happen before. So it's exciting, but a lot of work.
Breakfast too.
Breakfast as well, and those numbers are already increasing.
Wow.
But we are it's going to be a long process to review.
So we'll have,
Does that mean you're gonna take away
Didn't take away what?
because they're tired?
No.
Okay.
We may have to make adjustments to how things are done, depending on the menu item.
so we'll have more updates
We
with the
will.
committee as we get
Yeah, I
further
mean,
along. in the
I
school
agree
year.
with Matt and Jen. It's been very, very positive across the board.
And we've never received so much positive feedback on food services. For those of you members who've been on this for a decade plus, that has not been the case. It's always been, what are you going to do differently? So it's, so anyway, it was a lot of work with Becky, Keith, the food services staff. And I think so far, we're pleased.
How does that work? So we pay them, but we still get the stipend from the state?
Correct.
Okay.
So thank you all.
Welcome.
Let's
So
move on.
next item on the agenda is the MASC Lifetime Achievement Award, which goes to one of our very own. So it's very exciting news, and I think well-deserved. Let you say.
Sure. So I did receive a call from Joan over the summer saying, I received this letter. I'm confused. And I hadn't received the letter.
It's a free,
And,
it's a free meal with your husband.
Yeah.
Come on.
So the letter
you
was
get to go to
from-
Hyannis. It'd be
I
lovely.
know.
From Jason Frazier, the president of MASC, letting Joan know that she will be receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award. Joan asked, it must have been you who nominated, Joan.
As being my former principal,
And I said,
right?
no, I nominated Kathleen Palechko.
She didn't win.
Disappointed.
You should. I'd take her with me. Forget my husband. She's coming with me.
But in all seriousness, the nomination came from you folks, colleagues, so it even means more when your colleagues nominate you for this type of award. So congratulations, Joan. It's well-deserved, and Joan will be honored at a Friday dinner at the MASC conference this November. So well-deserved, and we look forward to celebrating you at the dinner.
Thank you.
Your husband
What?
Live stream the event. We'd like to see your
Please.
speech.
Oh, you want to see, I don't know if I have to do a speech, I
Yeah.
hope not.
Yeah, you do.
I do? Oh, gee.
Yeah, get ready.
Well, I would just like to say that I was shocked, but very honored. And as I said at the Northborough, excuse me, school committee meeting, you know, we always get all that mail that comes through, but it's already, you know, that we get the envelopes from MASC, and it's already pre-printed, and, you know, I just know it's so something else is coming in. And this one said Joan Galla Frank, and, you know, Galla being my maiden name, and like, what did I do? What did I do? What was the last executive session we said? I don't think. And I really thought I was, you know, it was something that I was going to be reprimanded for. So I had to read it once, and then I said, okay, somebody nominated me, but then it said, you're invited to a dinner. And I was like, a dinner? But I thought I was just nominated. So I was very honored, but I just have to say that it isn't just my efforts as a school committee member, it's also everything that we do. It's a collective effort in everything that we do, from everybody that's here, Northborough School Committee, Southborough, we all together, we all meet, and we're just such great friends. And even with administration and from the high school administration and down from the student leaders, I think everything that we do is we come here for the students, and I just enjoy hearing everything. And I think that we have one of the best schools, and I just hope that the achievement goes to all of us. It isn't just to me. So thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Next up is legislative update.
So just a brief update. We are watching the state legislation that's kind of moving through around cell phones. So although we've not received any new updates, it's something that Principal Bevan is monitoring closely. And it is a policy that the Joint Policy Subcommittee is taking up in preparation. So that is one area we're keeping an eye on in terms of legislative updates.
Any questions, comments?
And that's to ban cell phones in the school.
Correct. So basically the legislation states that each district will need to come up with a policy to restrict cell phones during school hours. So we'll have flexibility around what that looks like.
Is that above and beyond what you're currently doing?
It appears that the legislation would be more stringent than what we're currently doing.
Yeah.
So my understanding, and just from the teachers I spoke to yesterday, they seem like it's working well.
That's
and
feedback.
Quite frankly, the students don't seem to be particularly plussed by it.
Yeah, that's.
So, I mean, yeah.
But I think this would ban them from bringing them onto school at all, correct?
In the bathrooms and, you know, all the other
Passing
places.
time, yeah. This would be a increase in, we'd have to really do kind of some process, the start of the day and the end of the day, similar work.
What you did at Millikan.
Basically what's happened at Millikan, or indicating the students need to leave in their
they,
cars.
They figured out how to break the bags at Millikan, so just, you know.
Becky saw the bills.
Okay.
But the feedback has been, what you're indicating is consistent with what I'm hearing. I just got an email from one of our student support services mental health professionals saying she's seeing a anecdotal but measurable, well, not measurable, but a noticeable increase in just students' attention, just positivity.
Yeah.
It's anecdotal, but.
One of the comments from the teachers was, it's nice when you have 5 minutes at the end of class, you know, if you're done with something, as opposed to everyone go on their phones, they then actually talk to each other.
Yes. Yeah.
And the other positive that I thought was very interesting was, if there's a problem that comes up during the class, they ask another student for help, as opposed to just go on their phone and find the answer. And so that, I thought that was a very valid point, where you want people problem solving interactively, as opposed to just doing it independently.
So more information will follow as we learn more, and then the policy subcommittee will be working on this. So you'll see maybe a draft at the December meeting.
So next is the 2025-2026 school committee presentation schedule.
So Sean has continued the 3-year cycle, so we've listed those for 25-26. It's in your packet.
Questions about that? So next is the approval of grants and donations. There are quite a few of them, so I don't know if you want to talk about them separately, and then maybe we can vote on them all together. Is that the will of the committee?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're very appreciative of all of the grants and donations that were provided to Algonquin Regional High School. I think that if anyone has any questions for Sean about any one of these donations, we'd be happy to answer questions. Our plan is to send thank you letters to all of people who donated or provided grants, and once they're approved.
So I had maybe just a thought, and I think it's great that we recognize these in this meeting, but to the point about communications and thinking about all the, now that I have 2 students in the school and the Instagram accounts, we should maybe consider putting some of the stuff on the Instagram account so that the parents of students can see it.
I can look at that.
We're also, Sean is also, Becky and I are meeting on kind of fundraising a plan. So that kind of ties into, like, if people are seeing that people are making donations to the school, there's also, not fundraising, but sponsorships.
Any questions about, I actually would like a little bit of information about B, if you could talk about the donations from community members in memory of Laura Langford to Best Buddies.
So I have to admit, I am not that familiar. This is a parent that predated me, but Best Buddies, which also shows up on another donation letter, is one of our strongest, much loved program. And I know that Ms. Langford was a volunteer for the program and deeply committed to it. And these donations came in. When you see like an obituary for somebody and they say in lieu of flowers, this is what generated the donations from that, because she was in some way that I'm not that familiar with, because I did not know this person, really appreciative of Best Buddies and had contributed her own time to it.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, so I will, bear with me with this one. I will accept a motion to approve the following donations. The approval of a donation of books and supplies with the approximate value of $840 to the Northborough-Southborough Regional School District from Amazon. The approval of donations in the amount of $1,010 by several community members in memory of Laura Langford to Best Buddies. The approval of donation in the amount of $600 from New England Robotics Association to Algonquin Regional High School in support of students in the fields of STEM and robotics. The approval of a donation of a gift card in the amount of $400 from Wegmans to Algonquin Regional High School, which was used to provide a yogurt bar for staff during Professional Development Day. And lastly, the approval of a donation of $50 from the Northborough Junior Women's Club to the Best Buddies program.
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor? Okay, and that passes unanimously. Next is the superintendent report to the committee.
So this evening, we are welcoming our student representative, so welcome, and I'll turn it over to Sean for the report, the principal's report.
Sure. Greg, I apologize, I have not presented on this board.
So if you go to screen mirroring, Sean,
yeah, I'm on
and
there.
select library TV.
So I've done that and it's not connecting, so.
Chrome casting thing. Should we have to do that or no?
Sean, do you have a Apple?
I have Apple, yeah.
Could not connect to the TV library.
Sorry.
I don't know where to begin. Try now.
There you go.
Okay, thank you so much.
Very nice.
He's the new tech person.
I know.
I had to run another meeting. So there
Cheater.
was a lot of practice, getting ready for the meeting.
Well, thank you and good evening, everyone, and welcome to Madison Wilson, who's our school committee rep and has been an alternate in last year. And did you serve just like so?
I served as a sophomore year,
Yeah, and as a sophomore too. So Madison's off to a great start, and I'm going to kick it over to her to start up to provide the student report. So I will present if you want to move the slides over. You're welcome to.
Thank you. So good evening, everybody. So I'd like to start with just a general what's happening around Algonquin. Of course, we're just getting into our school year. So we've had orientation welcoming in the new class of 2029 with our freshman orientation, which went really well. I was a peer leader, so I was able to see all the freshmen, and it seemed like everybody was like nervous excitement. Fall sports are kicking off. Our fall musical is having the rehearsals. Clubs are starting, and then of course picture day. And then a couple things that are on students' minds, obviously at the start of the new school year, but there are two main ones, the phone policy and then the new lunch. So for the phone policy, I've heard mixed opinions about it. Some students say that it's one less distraction in class, so putting their phone away, they can like focus in and really like hone in on what they're learning. And then some people miss having their phones on them, but it's been pretty mixed. And then like for the lunch, a lot of people really enjoy the new lunches. I know I certainly do. A lot of people are sad about the loss of our cookies. And then there are mixed opinions. We moved away from having students in the rotunda in the hallway. And then there's a new spot in the lunchroom that's more of a quiet spot. And then, of course, still the outside seating. So we have mixed opinions about students who kind of want that quieter space but still want to be able to like converse and talk with their friends. And then in general, just the start to the school and getting to the swing of their classes and preparing for activities and football games and all of that.
Why did you go out of the rotunda?
If I go backwards a little bit, we implemented the ability for kids to eat outside of the cafeteria after the pandemic, and then that stuck around, but it became very hard to keep clean. 3 periods of students eating in the rotunda, sitting on the ground, it just created a much harder space to clean for our facilities folks. And as much as we tried to improve that, it just didn't work. And so we extended a space off of the cafeteria for the students to have a quiet space. It used to be the teacher lunchroom, and we created a new teacher lunchroom, gave that space to the same kid profile, same students, so that they have a space.
Yeah.
We knew it was a loss, but it was necessary.
Just on orientation, thank you. If you were in charge of that, it was wonderful. My son participated in it. It was very welcoming. It was just nice to see the freshmen coming in with their little T-shirts on and looking very, very overwhelmed and intimidated by the whole process. But you were very welcoming, all of you. Sounds to me like perhaps the volunteers had a little more fun at the dance than the freshmen. That's okay. It was like a really good time, and so thank you for doing that. And everyone that participated seemed to really get into it, and really the energy was super high. It was great.
And then just the general goals for the Student Advisory Committee. So we have a couple goals this year. One of them is to advertise the Student Advisory Committee more so to the student body. And we have a couple ways that we're planning to try and do that. So through our Instagram and then possibly morning announcements. And then Ms. Brown, one of our vice principals, has a week ahead that she sends out every week. So we might try and reach out and utilize that for students to be able to have easier access to what we do. And if we have any forms or surveys that we like their opinion on, for them to be able to easily access those. Another goal that we have that we've been doing in past years is highlighting mental health and student well-being. That's one of our top priorities, obviously, is to show that students can feel safe and happy and have the resources they need here. So that is one of our goals. And then again, that better communicating with the student body. We're thinking like surveys and discussions to really represent their voices at these meetings. And then supporting various clubs and societies around Algonquin. We've been doing like club highlights here through our presentations, but we might want to try doing some other things to really support those activities that students are able to do. And then here is our club spotlight. We thought it would be fitting to highlight the Peer Mentors program, which is in charge of orientation since it was so recent. So this is a club of rising juniors and seniors, and we ensure that orientation is fun and informative for the incoming class while making sure to be welcoming and answer any questions that they might have. We had a lot going on for orientation this year, including like color wars for the different groups. We had some Gonk trivia and then a raffle and then a lot of photo opportunities. We had like a 360 camera and then different props around the school that students could use. As you can see in one of the photos, near the music hallway, we had inflatable music props that students could use. And then something that's new this year that Mr. Gitkin, one of the other vice principals, is having us do is meet periodically throughout the year to ensure that we can keep up with what the freshmen need and that we're just another resource for them to acclimate at Algonquin.
So I'd like to, thank you, Madison. We've historically used this event as really more of an orientation than a mentorship, and Mr. Gitkin, I've asked him to build that out a little bit and extend that past those that are opening day, and to create the initial kind of relationship between the upperclassmen and the students who might, might get some bang for the buck out of that orientation, but a few weeks or months later might also need a little bit of support. So he's starting to increase what that program will look like, with the goal of making it a proper, really full-blown mentorship program. So this was like the first iteration of that.
A few comments about that. Actually, I think that's a great idea. It is, so I have a daughter who's in 9th grade, right? And it is a significant change, especially like for Southborough, which is a lot smaller, coming into a big school. The schedule is much more intense, there's much more homework, and it's not the same as a shift from like 7th to 8th, right? It's a huge jump. And so I think it can be stressful for a lot of kids, so having them paired up with kids who've already been through it and kind of can give advice, I think is a great idea. Orientation was great. The tunnel was really, my daughter was embarrassed by it, but it was great. We loved it because we got pictures of her being embarrassed. But, the other thing I wanted to say is that, this is, I love that you're here and like your voice is here and we can hear directly from students through your presentations. And I'm hoping that with some of these things, you're talking about like highlighting mental health and student well-being, that you come back to us with like results of surveys and the things that students are saying, because we can help in terms of like pushing forward programs or financially supporting programs. So I just encourage you to come back to us when you have more data. It's great to hear from the student perspective.
Thank you. And that is one of the things that we're working on, is making sure that the students know that we're that kind of voice, that like we can make that change and get them like the help or the services that they would want to see.
Jen?
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, and your position through the years has really become elevated, and you're an important part of our agenda, so thank you to the administration and to the chairperson for putting this on and doing it. I had a question. When is the fall musical for Once Upon a Mattress? Do you have a date?
November. I'm not too sure. I think it's like towards the middle of November.
We can find that out.
I'm not too sure the specific dates of it.
Okay.
I know it's in November.
And then, Mr. Bevan, I have another request, usual. If we could extend an invitation to the Northborough and Southborough senior citizens for a dress rehearsal, because I think they'd love to have.
Yeah, we've done that, or tried to do that. Sometimes it comes together depending on schedules, and sometimes it doesn't, but I will do that, absolutely. And let you know. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'll let you know the date, and I'll give you an update on the inviting our senior citizens to that event. Such a lovely suggestion. Thank you, Madison. Well done. So I'd like to start off by just giving a kind of a brief but high-level overview of our strategic plan, our goals for this year. But I'll hone in on a few that are a little bit more, ones I'd like to emphasize. We've already talked a little bit about the cell phone policy or practice change, which is not reflected in here. But so our school improvement plan is designed by myself and the department head team and my administrative team against the larger school objectives, or use those as our framework. And there are 4 that we use. These are not unfamiliar to you. We've talked about them over and over again. And this year we develop our action plans to unfold, to reflect or to make progress on those goals areas which reflect the district objectives. So we have 2 goals areas under the district objective under empowering learners. Those goals areas are not new. Of course, they are part of our multi-year strategic, multi-year school improvement plan. But the action steps on the right-hand side here are the ones we were really emphasizing this year to make progress on those 2 goals areas that, that you're welcome to read. But these are the 4 areas that I wanted to highlight for you as actions. We're going to be strengthening staff skills through UDL training and practice. UDL is a framework for thinking about school a little bit differently. It stands for Universal Design for Learning, and it's designed to reduce barriers for students who might be struggling to access their learning. So it requires us to come at teaching and learning just a little bit differently. And how we're coming at that work this year is we really have a very strong core group of teachers who believe strongly in this work and are well trained in it. And Dr. Reinhorn has led the way on adopting UDL, and they are leading the training for our first 3 staff meetings this year in October and November to have teachers adopt this practice or learn about this practice or find ways to implement this practice in their teaching in places that they feel safe and that they feel supported in and excited to try. Our department heads are leading the way on populating curriculum maps. That was a need we've had for some time and was reflected in our NEASC report. I'll talk about that in a few moments. We'll continue and I feel like every time I open my mouth in this room, we're talking a little bit at some point, usually about career awareness and career development. And the work Michelle Kalin continues to do is impressive and is moving our school in a real positive direction about getting our kids to be doing work with interns, many different other career development opportunities. We also have adopted a new platform that will replace or is in the process of, in a phased manner, replacing Naviance, which you might be familiar with. And the reason why we chose that is that Naviance's features and usability have been weakening over time, and SchoolLinks has a greater emphasis on career readiness and just a stronger emphasis on college readiness. Another major career, one of the other district objectives is under the banner of equity of opportunity. The goal is listed there. And this is one I'm going to return back to at the end of this series of presentation of slides. But we will be analyzing and have already begun the work over the summer and then spent a lot of time already in this year analyzing and looking to analyze and strengthen our preparation of students for post-secondary success by looking at our current graduation requirements. So we've not really done a real deep dive on our current graduation requirements and how they're reflected in our program of studies. That work is underway, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a few moments with greater detail. The third district objective that we are seeking to improve our school's work on is under the banner of healthy and balanced learners. The goal is there. It's to integrate health and wellness consistently within and across school settings. And we are in the process of aligning the health and physical education curriculum. That is a multi-year process that we have, that Dr. Reinhorn and Mary Ellen Duggan have really led the charge on, and we are working on that. And we are also in the multi-year process of embedding evidence-based SEL strategies in our classes and in our school. And then finally, under the final district objective, number 4 here, educator learning and leadership, we have 2 big action areas. One is to analyze student data to identify achievement gaps. This is the kind of one that we're always working on. I don't know that's an action will ever fully complete. We're always going to find gaps and try to improve on those gaps. And this year is the second year in a row we're using and seeking to leverage Analytic View. It's a data platform that combines many different streams and forms of student data to help us figure out what students need the most help, what trend lines are we seeing in our school, and what we can do about them. So Does anybody have any questions? This is a little bit of an abbreviated form of a much lengthier strategic plan, but these were all the major action areas we have assigned to achieving the goals we set.
The equity of opportunity one, so is that the innovation pathways that based on the state?
That is something we are looking closely at, yes.
Yeah.
In order to achieve the Innovation Career Pathways designation, or to even consider our applicability for that, we would have to be in a Mass Core school, which we're not.
Oh, okay.
So, and I'm happy to, maybe I can go ahead to that and talk through that, and we can talk a little bit about that now, and I'll loop back to some of the others.
Sure, whatever, yeah.
So,
Who embraces this? You and your core team, or is this all?
who embraces it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so this is your plan.
Mhm.
You've presumably discussed it with your entire leadership team.
Mhm.
And so then, how do we implement this?
So it's basically a roadmap for our whole school. So one of the things I do, I present it to all of our major constituent groups. So it's the first thing I talk about at our staff meeting to kick off the year. And then I present it to our school council. There are nine student leaders on that, and there are several adults. Some are parents, some are community members, and they provide feedback to me on that. That group in particular is one that I report into on our progress. So that would be one that gives me feedback on whether or not we're falling behind on achieving these goals or pushing forward on those. And then it just provides like kind of the blueprint for the year.
Sean, could I just add that you also have a leadership retreat with
Yeah.
your department chairs, and this is kind of the central focus of how will the department chairs and the leadership team move this work forward. So their fingerprints are on this and have a responsibility to do this work with their departments.
And then when we're planning things like, so for example, the biggest high leverage places where this work can happen is our time together as a staff. So we plan out our staff meetings are designed to make progress on these big things. And some of them are more intensely focused in certain areas and departments, like the health and PE standards. That whole group of health and PE teachers are working hard on that. Your English and science teachers are aware of it, but might not be intensely paying attention to it.
Thank you.
Yep. So this year, and I anticipate in October being back here for our October school committee meeting to talk at more length at this, but I'm happy to talk right now. Over the summer, in looking at student data, and really personally, I was looking very closely at student schedules and our 9th grade schedules. I started to conclude what I had already known for a long time, and Madison, you're welcome to contribute here anytime, but we are looking at whether or not our graduation requirements are the right fit for our students in 2025, as they've not changed in about 30 years. So not fundamentally. We made a change, you might recall, about 3 years ago to adjust digital literacy, which is a graduation requirement, and we broke it out into 2 different courses students could take, digital literacy and exploring computer science. And now we are looking at maybe making a more wholesale revision of graduation requirements for a few different reasons. One is that digital literacy and exploring computer science does occupy a major space in every freshman's schedule, and that has an outsized impact on the schedules of our students who receive Learning Center support, ELD support, or 504 support. And as a result, their schedules get bound up really quickly, and their ability to choose courses they might otherwise want to take is reduced. So that's a major driver on this. And then another big piece is that students really prefer student choice. They prefer to have a greater variety of choice, and that our current and decades-long practice has not really reflected that. And then finally, the skills that are taught in some of these courses are just more widely represented in our coursework on a day-to-day basis and taught in context than they ever were before. So we think the time is right to consider a shift, and in October I would share with you a little bit more about that. The shift I'm contemplating would bring us into alignment with Mass Core, which you're probably familiar with, and I can talk to you about if you like, or we can wait till October. And once we're aligned with Mass Core, it opens up some opportunities through DESE that we currently are unable to access, and that would be something called Innovation Career Pathways would be one. So it'd be the ability for students to choose a dedicated course of study in one of 6 different career pathways areas, and then leave our school with what amounts to like a credential that is recognized outside of our school. So
Can you explain that now?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
So we are, because when I see, I guess maybe just to ask the question, maybe put it together. So I see graduation requirements here, and also what I immediately go to is the fact that the MCAS requirement's now gone, but we had our own requirements of our students of the curriculum we wanted them to complete before, which was separate from MCAS, but and they didn't require them to pass the courses, they just had to take a certain allotment, is that right?
When we revised the competency determinations that replaced MCAS, our language was that the students needed to pass the courses we named that aligned with the standards tested at MCAS. So as long as students passed those courses, they were fine.
So what is Mass Core? And how can we not already meet that?
Sure, yeah. So Mass Core was developed by the state, I think in 2007, and it is not required, but it is highly recommended by the state as a framework for the best practice for schools to produce students that are as well prepared as possible to be successful in college or careers. It was developed with a lot of input from colleges, but also a lot of input from industry professionals at that time. That was a ways back. It's not required, but it is indeed, highly suggested and or recommended. Roughly half of the schools in the state, by my understanding, are Mass Core aligned, but another half are not. Even though half of the schools are not aligned with Mass Core, like we are not, students just by taking a rigorous course of study are very likely to just achieve a Mass Core aligned diploma course of study anyway. And that would be 4 years of math, 3 years of science, 4 years of English, 1 full year of art. Those are really the base ones. I probably described all of our transcripts in high school, but here at Algonquin we have some wrinkles that result in a much lower passing rate when you match our students to Mass Core compliance, if that makes sense.
So just to add one little background piece that I think you're so deep in it that like you might not even, some people might not know, which is just that Mass Core is essentially a recommendation of the list of the credits that students should take in high school. So it's recommending how many math courses, how many ELA courses, which is what Sean was just rattling off. It's a framework that then high schools kind of say, okay, if I'm Mass Core aligned, our graduation requirements should match these amounts.
So in October, Sean will present the Mass Core, what it is, more detail, where we are in terms of, meeting or not meeting, and then a proposal for graduation requirements that meet the Mass Core. So there will be an opportunity to learn more in depth. This is kind of like a broad brushstroke.
It's supposed to be a preview.
As maybe just to guide the discussion then. So for some period of time, it was a recommendation, not required. Half the districts in Massachusetts chose not to get aligned for whatever reason. They didn't. We are one that did not. It may be interesting to understand if we remember why we didn't, why we thought it wasn't necessary. But now, it's actually potentially, if we don't get aligned, it's going to impact funding. Is that right?
It's grant opportunities that sometimes it's not that it's now required.
So the way the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education incentivize becoming Mass Core is they provide grant funding. So, the innovation pathways we're not eligible for unless we become Mass Core aligned. So I think that's part of our motivation to become aligned. There is a history, and we can talk.
Is that Sean's call, Stephanie's call, or our call?
I think that in the past, it's been, we've looked at it, we've presented to prior committees, the Mass Core and what it means. I think there's been a push to become aligned, and that's Sean's directive to look at how do we become Mass Core aligned for this year. it's going to be our recommendation as a district to become Mass Core Line. Sean's looking at the program of studies and graduation requirements of how to make that happen. And that's what he'll be presenting in October.
Sean, did I also hear you say that you're also going to be presenting something where you can get 5 to 6 like competencies, like sort of come out, similar to what they offer if you take 5 business courses, you come out with a minor in business?
It's very similar to that. That would be a longer term objective that we currently would not be capable or we're not eligible to even pursue, but it's a state program that other schools that participate in indicate to me, the principals who have that designation, say it's a very powerful program, and I would very strongly consider that. But we currently cannot access that because of exactly what Superintendent Martin
So what that allows the student to do is put on their CV, their college resume, that they were, because they took a number of courses, that they have a concentration in, I don't even know what it is. Right now, we do offer a concentration in business and finance, but I think there's going to be more opportunities to have a student come in and say, hey, you know what? I really like this my freshman year. I'm going to take more courses.
There's also some more practical application and hands-on components than currently.
This early childhood.
Yeah.
So I would frame this as like just a little bit of information about a direction we were spending a lot of time in this year that I'll really dive in greater depth in October. And I know I don't want to leave you like with questions that go answered. Happy to answer them.
You're giving us a teaser.
But Mass Core is certainly something that we've been talking a lot about for years, and I think this is the year to address that. What I see as a need in our school, and then in doing so, gives us opportunities that we've not had, which are ones that you are alluding to.
And I'll just state that part of the metrics outside organizations use to rank districts and educational organizations is Mass Core. So obviously Algonquin is performing well on all those external metrics, without being aligned to Mass Core. But that is one factor they consider when ranking districts. So it might be the reason why we're not number 1.
So at the risk of leaving you on a cliffhanger, I will, more information about that in October with just greater depth, and I will talk about it at any time, but this is something that has been a priority for us since the end of the summer, and I think the time is right to make a change, but it's a big one, and it's one we really have taken a lot of time to think through. So I'll share that more with you in October.
And in preparation, we can, Dr. Reinhorn can send you information about Mass Core, and you can study and read up in preparation for the October meeting.
Yeah. Okay. So in some kind of, in the realm of school news, I do want to share with you, we completed our NEASC decennial visit and decennial report. You might recall that in the spring. Over the summer, since last we met, we received the final letter indicating that we did indeed pass that accreditation visit. And this is just a line I pulled from the letter that they sent along, indicating that we've been awarded accreditation. Not that it was really in question, and that they were happy to identify for us, and I have it on a slide here, 15 commendations areas, and happily we saw things we know we do well, which are we have a strong school culture based in strong relationships between adults and students and each other, student well-being, and college and career readiness. These are just ones I plucked out. There are others. They did identify that of the 8 foundational elements, we did not meet fully one of the foundational elements, and that is that we do not have a fully mapped curriculum. That is one of our goals for the next 2 years, to map out the curriculum, and that's named in a goal that I briefly referenced earlier, and work our department heads will be doing. And then the next step is for us to do a reporting back in May. So we are now in this year 1 of a 10-year cycle. We are kind of in the quieter period of doing quiet, hard strategic work, but the the year 8 and year 10 visits are behind us, and those are heavy lifts, and they're done.
What does that mean? We don't have I find that surprising that we don't have that's a failure though, or it wasn't met. We don't have curriculum mapping. Like, so what were they expecting and what did we not do?
We do not have a singular agreed upon template or format for each department to codify and store their curriculum that is uniform across all departments and easily editable or accessible. We've just not had that priority.
And just to give a little history, which Greg is much more familiar with, but we used to use a program called Atlas, which is a curriculum map. So you hear the expression from Sean, a curriculum mapping program, and there was a significant amount of time spent. Teachers, particularly at the high school, where more of the curriculum is what people often refer to as homegrown, meaning like our English teachers are not taking a purchased off-the-shelf curriculum. They're, working together collaboratively to develop courses and syllabi and all of their units. So a number of years ago, as a district, Greg led the work of everybody on Atlas mapping what the essential questions were, the enduring understandings, the key activities and assessments, and really having a common framework. However, the software, as Sean so succinctly expressed, did not keep up with the times. And so it was very clunky. It was very hard for people to keep updated and to use kind of in their day-to-day work. And so over time, it just became kind of outdated and not representative of what people were doing. So individuals have a lot of clarity about what they're doing and have all different ways that they have stored. And within departments, they even have, in some cases, common templates, shared drives. But as a whole school and as a whole system, we're at a point where it's time to realign on sort of how we're mapping and storing and accessing and having kind of more public access to some of the levels of that. So I don't know if that's helpful to, because it does sound a little disconcerting to say we don't have
What software do
curriculum.
people use instead of Atlas?
So we have not found a really good software solution. So we're really going to rely on Google Drive at this time, in the sense that we're, what Sean and the school-based leadership team have been working on is agreeing on common template that we can use across departments. And then within some departments, like I've been working with the comprehensive health and PE department, we're taking that template and getting a little more specific for it to work better for them. But they're all very, the Google Drive is where things are stored now for the teachers already, and it is our sort of shared platform. So we're going to work within that for the time being, because we have not found kind of a better software solution.
What did NEASC recommend? Atlas?
They didn't have a recommendation of
They
a
didn't
platform.
recommend.
They just said it wasn't there, but they must.
They would.
What does good look like?
Good looks like that you have, you can sort of show them, this is our template, our approach. Here's the English department. Here's this, that Sean at his fingertips can say, oh, you're interested in seeing the scope and sequence for our health courses? Here it is. And that's used to be possible with Atlas, but it's not up to date anymore. And now it's more sort of not systematic.
If you had a linked table of contents that actually just went to the actual description, so if you just listed every single curriculum there and that it just attached it to what they had, it would have been fine?
I don't know that I would say that, because I think there's not alignment in how, they're looking for, Sean, you can chime in, but I think they were talking about things also, within your curriculum mapping, where can you see that the profile of a graduate is threaded through your coursework? So they're looking for sort of some common approaches to how we think about curriculum. Curriculum mapping can be a great tool for getting teachers to collaboratively grapple with what do we teach and how do we teach it. And so when every teacher sort of has a different approach, or every department has a different approach, you don't necessarily have that sort of collaborative opportunity in the same way. So I think that's some of what NEAS is looking for.
Yeah, they don't have a preferred format or a preferred platform. They just want to see that there's been thought put into how to guide curriculum development, and that there's greater uniformity, and we just didn't have that in any way that was like coordinated around the building.
Can I ask it this way? So we've worked with NEAS. They thought we met 7 of the 8, not this one. Do we think it's worth pursuing? And if we think it is, then does NEAS at least provide you with the districts that are actually meeting it, and then you can talk with them to understand what it is that they're doing? Like, I really don't, I hear what you're saying.
Sure, no,
I left with thinking exactly what John said. So is it just the ability to demonstrate that your tools are accessible?
No, so if you took the program of studies, one way to think about it, if you took the program of studies, like John said, and your son or daughter was taking a course, and you could click on that course of studies and see the course description, but then you also could click on a link and see what are the outcomes that the course is trying to accomplish. What are those common assessments? What are the common learning activities that course will provide students? And you could do that for any course. Parents could have access to it. When NEAS comes, they want to see a repository of all that information in one place, rather than saying, I have to go to the department chair for this, then I have to go to the math department to get theirs. It's a little bit different format, so it's hard to understand. Someone used one curriculum design, another department used another. So it's really a coordination of kind of the mapping of our curriculum, what's taught, what kids will learn, the assessments that are happening in a systematic way that is easy to digest from a parent perspective, and also if you're a new teacher walking into the building and you're given a new course, you can see exactly what the expectations are. I don't know if that made it more confusing for you.
I don't think, I guess what I would say is that it's.
Because it seems like,
So I would.
do people get this one right?
So I would share that this is not surprising.
No.
That, in some degree, this is a challenge of all high schools.
That's what I would guess.
There aren't great tools
No.
that exist where you can actually create this database of, so part of the conversation we're having is, what does this look like? That's where John Parent comes in. Like, is it something we can design and build that will work for us? Is it a simple Google Drive? But I'm not surprised that, that this is an area that we need to grow and improve upon, because it's, you talk to any high school principal, it's very rarely can they say, okay, here's the exact curriculum.
It's not, I guess the other thing I would say is that, and Sean, you might agree with this, but both Sean, it's not overly complicated, and Chris, all the people are educators. It's not that it's that it's hard to wrap your head around and you don't know how to do it. It's that it's a bit of a monumental task of getting all the stars aligned, right?
Is it worth it?
Well, so it is worth it, but it's figuring out how to do it, because it is a big undertaking.
And maintain it.
And maintain it, and not sacrifice the other really important things they're trying to get done, right? So how do we make systematic progress on this, but still keep working on all these other important things that Sean's talking to you about, and do something that can be maintained, where people don't feel because if people feel like they're making big sacrifices in the way they actually sort of track their work, they won't maintain it, and they won't feel invested in it.
A priority we set early on is to have whatever the outcome is in whatever format it is, and it ended up being a Google document, is that it's easily accessible, it's easily editable, that it is in fact a living document. It's not like a snapshot in time when we poured a ton of labor and resources into it to make it look accurate at that one point in time, but then it became outdated very quickly. The goal is to have it be a living document that is helpful to a new teacher coming on board, and that's not a new to the building teacher. It might be a teacher who switches into a new course next year and doesn't have to find out where the documents are stored because it's a different course that they
Yeah.
haven't taught before. So we're aiming for high user ease of use and high kind of applicability to anybody who wants to see them, and low barrier to access. So these are things that are not, to your point, it's not rocket science, it's not terribly hard to do. It's just quite a volume of work that will just take time to populate.
May I suggest that, so I think people say 7 of 8, why didn't we get all 8? So, everyone's, type A personalities all over. Might just want to suggest that you find out from NEASC who actually, like what number of schools actually got an 8 out of 8, got that one right? Because how many schools are there in the state, Massachusetts?
325.
So if the answer is 10 out of 325, I don't really feel that bad. If it was 321 got it right, 4 didn't, us being one of them, it strikes me, it sounds to me like not a lot of people, because this requires effort, this requires care and feeding in order to make sure this is maintained, and it sounds like you prioritized other things because while you agree it's important, it wasn't the most important thing, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I think we should put it in context, because as it stands, it seems like a bigger deal, but thank you for the explanation. I don't think it is as big a deal as what I would have as I originally reacted to.
I don't know, I don't know the answer to that, so we
I
can look into that.
can look into it. The folks at NEASC are very responsive.
Yeah, I think the risk
Yeah.
is we spent a lot of time doing this work, getting to a point where we had aligned curriculum maps across all of our schools. The tool wasn't great, so what happened? People stopped using the tool, they became outdated. So my concern is that we put these in Google Drive and we end up with the same outcome, that we haven't built a system that actually is going to endure. So I think moving slowly, I think Sean has a good plan. I think talking with John Parent around, okay, what are we trying to design? And then starting the work slowly. We don't need to, NEASC is a supportive organization. It's not someone we're reporting to.
Fair, yeah, I suppose maybe the context would have been better too if, how did we do last time? If it was 6 of 8, 7 of 8, I mean, those.
That was 15 years ago, it
Well,
was 20 years ago.
It's being presented here in a way that I'm asked.
I agree.
Met with, it's 7 of 8.
That's right.
And then I hear, and the answer is, it sounds like a very complicated activity of organizing a library, and then I'm like, well, is that worth it? Like, and so like.
Yeah, I think.
Context is.
And NEASC has shifted also, so the last visit and NEASC's philosophy has really changed. But this was one area that was lifted up.
Yeah,
So,
no, and.
like the last, so it's.
If they wanna keep doing this type of work, they have to give you like, oh, they hit something.
Yeah. You need us to come back and let us know how it goes.
So I will move along to, and this is a quick update. We are using a new display technology here behind me. We have 62 new line displays.
And John presented at the combined meeting.
He did, okay, so I will not overdo it here. They're getting good results. Kids are enjoying it. I don't know, Madison, you've probably, in 2/3 of your classes probably have them.
Yep.
Have you interacted with them at all?
I have, it's very fun.
Okay. This is what I've heard from lots of kids. They do all the things the LCD projection did, but much more. So it's kind of like going from 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional.
By the way, the one thing that John Parent didn't mention in his presentation, but I heard it from several teachers last night, which is what they heard, is, so they're $3,000 a unit mounted, a little more expensive to have mobile. People want mobile, just so you know. I heard that the care and feeding of the existing technology was actually becoming quite expensive. And so the investment in the $3,000 units was actually less than actually maintaining the old stuff, which was poor. So, I mean, I don't know that necessarily that came up when this investment was made, but I think it's important that this group understands that while $3,000 a unit for 62 units seems like a lot of money, it's actually probably more expensive to care and feed for the old stuff that, quite frankly, is not very good.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well said.
And we talked about cell phones in class. I don't know that we have to talk about that much more, but we are monitoring it closely, and I think we've heard there are some good feedback we're seeing. We did some gathered some data from teachers last week on how they're feeling about it. We had actually gathered data on a similar push we had made 3 years ago, and we were able to do an apples-to-apples comparison, and they're feeling more encouraged, more supported this year by how this is coming together than it did 3 years ago when we made kind of a less forceful push. And so we're going to watch that closely.
If the state bans cell phones, who's gonna do that?
So they are allowing, basically the district's going to have to decide how it implements the law.
They're going to compel us to come up with a way to do it.
And there's not one way, so.
No, that was my question. Who from the state, is it the who is it is the governor?
They're moving.
They're moving it through the House and the Senate.
The legislation.
The legislative.
So it's gonna be
Legislative
a law?
process.
Yeah, yeah, they're trying to create a law.
A law?
Yes,
And this is gonna pass?
we'll see.
It appears.
Has a
It
lot
looks
of
like it has a lot of
momentum.
support.
It
From
has in-
educators?
It has in many other states already.
Yes, MTA does support this.
Yep.
And then we talked about graduation requirements, which we will talk about in greater depth in October, when I have a proper proposal for you all.
And I will send you Mass Core information.
One small question, not our purview, but School Links being implemented here. Is it also being used in middle schools?
Not yet, but that is part of what we're going to be required to do because of the new regulations for middle schools. So,
Okay.
so the joint policy subcommittee will be taking that up, which will involve conversations around the technology.
Because it is nice, it'll just follow the kids, get them started on that conversation earlier, yeah.
And that concludes my report.
I'd like to share right now something that I was going to do during public comment, but I think it's very fitting to do it right now. Sean was interviewed by the Community Advocate, and it was posted in August 29th. And usually when you're writing a report and you want to do a headline or you want to showcase something, they did a quote that Sean had done. I think it's very important and pertinent this time. His quote that he made, and I think it's just as big as
Oh, my goodness.
just as big as his photo. But it just sums up everything that you've done so far. It says, his quote was, "We're working to make school as engaging and real-world applicable as possible so that students are happy to be here, teachers are happy to teach here, and students leave here having enjoyed it." Quote, Sean Bevan. And I think that sums it up.
Well, I was very flattered. That was one of a student who just graduated this spring and is going on to BC, and she has a job as a paid journalist at community advocate. So
Wow.
we're very proud of Lainey
Wow.
Halsey. Yeah.
Is that who
really
that
great
is?
kid. Yeah,
The
wonderful.
TikToks?
Sorry?
Is she the one doing the TikToks?
I don't know. Maybe.
For Community Advocate.
Yeah.
Is that her?
Okay.
Really bright kid. Really nicely done.
She's going to BC?
Yep.
Fantastic.
Very proud of her.
Nice job.
Thank you, Ms. Beck.
So thank you, Sean.
Yep.
So we'll move on to the enrollments. So I did include an update in the packet for the committee around enrollments. I think the key area that we look at this time of year is how many of the Trotter 8th graders matriculated to Algonquin, and the same for Northborough. So we have the percentages. 86% of Southborough 8th graders moved on to Algonquin, and 95% of Northborough. So this is not a skew of what's typical. Guidance does look at the data and actually tries to understand better, why students didn't enroll in Algonquin. In many cases, they've attended Assabet Valley Collaborative or technical vocational school, they've moved, or there's a family legacy of attending private school. These numbers are important because it does impact our foundation enrollment, which will be generated on October 1st and is used for our state education aid. So that is something we'll learn more about in October. And then I will turn it, any questions about enrollment? I'll turn it over to Becky for the next several reports around finances. And just, I'll quickly state that congratulations to Becky and the finance team for, closing out a year, launching another fiscal year, and actually preparing for the budget season for FY27. So,
What year is it?
so what year is it? So, Becky.
So I'll start with fiscal year 25 and then move into fiscal year 26. So first of all, with the fiscal year 25 monthly general fund report, I did present to the committee the memo of the final accounts that are showing as overexpended for FY25. There were 4 additional accounts on the last report, and those were substitute short-term, tuition reimbursement, instructional hardware, which are student and staff devices, and then also rent and lease, which was the buyout of a copier lease. As of the end of the fiscal year, we did have a ending balance of $383,688. Those funds do revert to the district's excess and deficiency account, so that is included. And we did receive word 2 days ago that our excess and deficiency for FY26 has been certified already. So I will provide that data to the committee later in my report. The biggest drivers in FY25, there were really 4, and they were instructional hardware, and that account actually was a combination of the black box theater upgrade as well as the purchasing of some of the new line devices. FY26 also includes a portion of the new line devices as well for the installation. We also saw an increase in the long-term substitute line item. This is actually the first year that we are tracking substitutes who are with us for more than 30 days in one role. We're really continuing the work of aligning our chart of accounts to the DESE chart of accounts. So this is giving us a better idea of those expenses and will definitely help as we're planning for FY27. The other accounts are our heating account, and I think we all remember last winter, well, Joan won't, but last winter was a rather cold winter.
Really? I missed it.
We also, at the beginning of the winter, when it was at its most coldest, did have a higher rate, which has come down for FY26. And then lastly, our special education transportation contract. We did have a new contract through the Assabet Valley Collaborative for FY25, and so we did see some increased expenses for that. So what I would request for the committee is that you vote to accept the FY25 monthly general fund report until audited. They are coming in next month to start that process, and then also vote to approve the final list that was included in your packet of those accounts that have been overexpended in FY25.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? And it passes unanimously.
Okay, and then the FY25 revenue report. So you can see that the total revenue received for last year was $30,431,000, which was about $517,000 higher than we had originally anticipated. The most significant differences were in our Chapter 70. When we originally budget, we used the governor's number, and the final House reconciliation number did come in higher, as well as the regional transportation reimbursement and also our investment income, which we continue to see healthy returns on. There is one note you can see on the parking fees that we almost doubled the parking fees in the FY26 revenue report. You'll note that we had, there are about $42,000 that we received in FY25 that are actually intended for this school year. So it sounds like that the team here went out earlier for the parking passes for this upcoming school year. So those funds are shown in FY25 versus 26.
Great lottery process for the.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll pass that along. I think that probably contributes extra.
Especially if you get an earlier slot. You don't want to be a late slot.
So does that mean that since we got it in 25, then it increased our excess and deficiency, but now we won't get those funds?
No, it's part of a revolving account, so it does not impact our excess and deficiency.
We won't get the revenue in 26?
I'm sorry? Oh,
So
because
it's
that's
not in the operating budget?
Right, yeah. Yeah, the assessments and the state revenue do impact the excess and deficiency and the amounts, but the other miscellaneous receipts do not.
Becky, the $1.4 million, 4.8% operational budget unencumbered amount, is that standard? Is that usually around is it about 5%? Is that what you usually expect to have in 26?
In 26, we are.
Annually, is that normally what we would normally have unencumbered?
Yes, at this point in the year, yes,
That's
because
all
we
I was-
are
yeah.
continuing to work on that, so,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. And so I would also ask for a vote on the revenue report until audited as well for 25. Probably should have done all of them at once, I guess.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? And that's unanimous, it passes.
And then the last item for FY '25 is I have provided the committee with a listing of the student activity club balances as of June 30th. If you recall, in FY '24, we had worked to clean up the balances on the various student activity accounts in the clubs. And so tonight I am presenting to you for your review and your approval the ending fund balances of each of the clubs. Just as a reminder, the funds in these clubs are held by the district on behalf of the students and can only be used to benefit the students. So we're not paying salaries out of that or any other operational costs. And you can also see that we did add 5 new clubs in FY '25. Social Studies and French National Honor Societies, Create for Kids, Spreading Hope Across Continents, and then lastly, the class of 2029, since they have joined us. Joan.
I have a question on the class, probably the class dues. And I can see there that there's a gap between 2008 to 2018. So how long do we keep their class dues before we hand it over to probably the president and the secretary or treasurer?
So we actually have a policy that we do need to close those out within 6 months of graduation. So we have been working diligently. There have been a few classes that because of the age of it, it's been difficult to find members of those classes. But I know Sean and Diana Jeezy here at the high school have been diligently working to get these accounts closed. We're really trying to start before they even graduate. But again, it's a big responsibility. It does require 2 members of the class to open a bank account on behalf of the class, and so sometimes there's a little bit, I think, of fear and trepidation to do that. But we have been working with them to close those accounts out.
Okay, thank you.
2020 had a rather large balance, and we just finally, I think, like within the last, 6 months, finally got that account closed.
Okay.
Sorry, Becky, did you say what the undesignated income of $35,402 is?
On which report?
The total fund balance in the student activity club balance?
So that was, when we had cleaned out the accounts,
Yeah.
there were some of those accounts that were no
Right.
longer active.
Yeah.
And so those funds reverted to that undesignated income account. So those are funds that we could use to start as like a seed for a new club if we wanted to. But that was based on the committee's decision to approve that, and it was at the recommendation
Do we
of
think
our
about renaming that?
Undesignated.
We could.
I think we should think about renaming it.
Okay.
Right, just because
I'll
it's
speak
unclear.
with Tom
So
Scanlon.
I recall that conversation, I just wouldn't necessarily recall the
Yeah.
designation of that.
I'll talk to Tom Scanlon to see if there's a preferred name at the state level.
And maybe another question, on the yearbook, just since it's the biggest, but why is it so big?
It's carried over, from year to year too, it's always carried a balance over, and so Sean and I have actually, had conversations about that, because they also had a portion of it coming out of the operational budget. So we've started to move more of those costs onto the yearbook, because they are selling and they are making obviously a profit off of that. And so making sure that the yearbook really is self-generating, and is supporting itself.
And we're looking to spend down those funds by selling yearbooks at a reduced rate, not by a huge number, just so that we're not holding on to funds and students aren't paying exorbitant amounts for this item. So it's just kind of added up over time, because we've had a yearbook club for decades, and making a little bit of money each year for 30 years is probably how you end up at that big number. And we've prioritized reducing that number by reducing the cost of the yearbook for students as it is.
Sorry, last question. Remind me what we agreed to do with booster money? So I see that like music is $20,000, $795, that's a club. But we put on plays and stuff like that.
Yes.
So it's because it's not a sport, so sports aren't, so the boosters
That's
is not accounted for here?
That is a separate organization. That is a private, or
501c3.
501(c)(3),
Both of
nonprofit. It's outside of any of our operational
Yes,
budgets
yeah, we do not oversee that.
and our
That-
revolving accounts.
Well, Mike Massarino oversees it, does he not?
No, it's a private, it's a board. They are a 501c3. While it is for the benefit of the students, it's not governed by us.
Any funds that they expend does have to be approved by Mike. If they want to buy uniforms or whatever, he helps talk about the priorities for the spend on behalf of boosters.
He meets with the executive board to identify priorities, but he does not direct the spending.
So a question for the committee, just because I asked Becky this, 1 or 2 meetings ago. So we look at the donations that support Algonquin and we approve them. We never talk about the booster money at all. And so
Strikes me as a donation.
Yeah, so there's a policy that on an annual basis, I think there is an approval process to approve all those donations that boosters makes. So I have to look at the policy to see when that takes place. It might have been an oversight last year that we didn't approve those, but that is policy driven, and it is done annually. So I'll work with boosters and talking about how.
Both boosters, football and non-football. There's two different
Yeah,
groups.
so there's Northborough Southborough Music Association, there's the Boosters Club, the Athletic Club, and then what other boosters do we have? I think that's it. Robotics is brand new.
Even if they don't use the word boosters, it acts similarly.
But we just saw money come in for robotics via
So it's a
donation.
question of like,
But that is,
the support is great, but if, whether it's football uniforms, baseball uniforms, soccer, however, if we don't get the support from the boosters, then it might be a question of, okay, is that money that we need to source in other ways, or then impact the programming?
so what is the true cost to run our athletic program? We have operational funding, we have fees, and then we have donations from
It
boosters.
sounds like robotics program, which we win all awards for, a music program, so it sounds like let's just not focus on sports. It sounds like there are other areas that has booster clubs that just aren't necessarily called that.
So there's 2 other boosters, robotics, which is brand new. They just organized this summer. And then, again, the Northborough Southborough Music Association, they don't have the level of donations and fundraising that the athletic club does.
What about the cheerleaders? There used to be a booster club for cheerleaders.
That's part of the athletic club. Yep.
Part of that, okay.
Yep.
So it's just my view, as a committee, we could either say we want to know about it because we want to support all the programming that's available to our students today, and we need to have line of sight on the money that's being expended so that we can support in the future if that funding goes away. Or we can say, while there is support from the community for those programmings today, we expect it to continue in the future, so we really don't need to see it the same way we approve this stuff. Just
You should have approved those on an annual
Yeah,
basis.
I don't believe I've ever approved it.
We've
I don't think we have.
always had a presentation by the boosters.
Yep.
It's usually at the end of the year, and in that presentation, they give us a report on all of the expenditures.
Both boosters.
I think it happened 2
No,
years ago.
athletic
when-
boosters.
Well, there's also a football separate boosters from
No, there's
athletic.
not.
Yes, there is.
Football's under athletics.
No, it's not.
It should be.
It's not.
The Algonquin Athletic Club is the organization. There is not a separate football boosters. Each team is a member of that boosters, but there's not a separate boosters for football.
Yes, there is. It's a whole separate group with a separate president, separate structure.
So there are, and again, I think probably having Paul Cacciatore, who's the president of Boosters, come and talk about the organizational structure and how it works would be helpful. He hasn't, this is his second year, third year? Heading into his third year.
I think what he would indicate is, the structure of that and how each team has representatives, and probably in a large organization like football, you have a much larger infrastructure for raising funds and spending funds. That would be I expect what we would hear there.
I think it was a couple years ago when we made a switch in all the uniforms, was the last time they came, because it was such an expenditure to, so it didn't just trickle down for years,
Yeah, I'm just gonna, in my time on the committee,
Yeah.
I have not attended every meeting, but I have not sat through such a meeting, and that was.
It's been years.
Yeah.
It's been years.
Well, Tom Spataro was the last
Right, he was the
president.
last one who presented.
So
Yep.
and then there was a transition of leadership. There was a booster president who I think was a year, and then they rotated through that, and then I think now we
The
have
athletic
consistent, but we can bring that, it is policy, we can bring that back and make sure that happens on an annual basis. I think it is important. You need to know how boosters is offsetting or complementing the overall athletic budget.
I think so, just again to repeat maybe what I already just said, 'cause I think the programming that we have at Algonquin it's great at the educational level and at the club and athletics level, and I think we would all want to maintain that, and there's a fair amount of support that community's providing in some fashion.
So are you looking for a vote on this? So I will entertain a motion to approve the student activity club's listing of balances for June 30th, 2025.
May I ask a question first? Are these all viable clubs right now?
Yes,
So the Color Guard is a club.
yes.
In the Color Guard, do they come at the football games? They do, okay,
I don't know every football game, but
they do,
perform.
okay. I was surprised it was a club.
What's the color guard?
It's like the halftime performance.
It is.
Flags.
It is, okay.
Call it school.
I don't think they come. They're gonna be that this Friday?
I don't know.
I mean, we had done this exercise about 12 months ago, or maybe a little bit longer, where we went through and we did identify those that were still active, and that was still an active club.
That was, okay. All right.
I would indicate their membership is not high, so
Yeah,
it would,
okay.
could very easily go from the very low numbers to untenable for any given night or any given season, so I can't speak to their membership this year.
And we will continue to review this, like we do work with Sean and Diane on this, and if there is a club that we decide is no longer active, then we will bring that to the committee to disband that if needed.
And then what would you do?
It would fall
with
into
the
that.
fee?
It would fall
Into that undesignated,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Yet to be named
Or if
category.
there's a light club that
Yeah.
that the committee wanted to move the funds into, we could do that as well.
Okay. All right, so I move the motion.
A second?
Second.
Okay. Kathleen seconds. All in favor? Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, now we'll move into FY '26. So, as John indicated already, so we do have a $1.4 million balance right now on the operational budget, which is just under 5%. We are continuing the work of encumbering funds as we go through the year. My team and I actually go through the line by line, and we do have a list of those things that we do know that we need to encumber each year. I would say the majority of the big ones have been encumbered, but we are still working through that process. I also wanted to remind you about the process for when a department chair or Sean or someone here at Algonquin does want to take money from one account to another, which would then be overexpending. I do have a Google form that everyone can complete where they're sending a request to me to review that request to overexpend. I'm checking the budget, I'm checking the accounts to make sure that there is adequate funding, that maybe someone else hasn't already, encumbered some money in that line, and then I will approve that, and I do track that on an annual basis. So as of right now, you can see that we do have about 11 accounts right now that are currently over budget, and I will say the majority of those are due to their salary accounts. The one that I think that sticks out to me is the heating, because that is based off of last year's projections. So now that we do have a different rate, we are going to look at that and make sure that that is an accurate prediction of where we think we're going to be with heating. I also want to let the committee know that we did receive a supplemental payment from DESE for special education transportation at the beginning of July. There was a supplemental budget that was passed, and as part of that supplemental budget, they did increase the reimbursement under the circuit breaker special education transportation to 75% of the prior year, so that moved up the Student Opportunity Act by about a year, I believe it was, and so that additional payment was $19,076. We can utilize those funds for our special education transportation in either this fiscal year or next fiscal year. And I think I will move on to the revenue report for FY26. So in the month of August, we did receive both communities' assessment payments at the end of August, and that was the September 1st assessment. We have continued to see our Chapter 70 funds come through, but really it has been a relatively quiet summer. We have seen the summer athletic receipts for the fall sports, but for the most part, we're small, I'd say, in terms of the revenues. We're about a quarter of the way through, which makes sense because we're just about near the quarter mark in terms of our fiscal year already. So really not a lot to report on the revenue report. So I would say at this point, I would ask the committee to approve the FY26 operational budget until audited, the accounts that are overexpended, as well as the revenue report for FY26.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
So, I appreciate the memo that you put together on this and the fact that we approve the over expenditures. I know someone, the committee member, either this committee member or this committee or someone in the combined pointed out like we were meant to do this activity. So, just a question, I'm not sure I expect you to have a good answer for this. Just to understand like what we're really doing here. So, you point out that the instructional leadership training is over 46,000, and the reason was because a portion of the salary was originally budgeted in line 2305. So then I go to the expense report and I see 2305 shows up a few different places. One of them it's almost exactly encumbered, and then another one there is an overage of 117,000 or some number. So technically, yes, I can see that the 46K is covered by that. So will you be able to identify for us if that line falls below an overage of 46,000, that you're gonna come back and tell us you've overexpended the salary line of 2305 because we've already approved the overage in a new line item that you created? Do you think you can do that?
So what I do, I do have a spreadsheet, so every month I go through and I identify, and I have like a running tally of where I'm taking the accounts from. And so I will tell you that if that 23, or whatever, the 46,000 does make 2305, I will let you know that we have overexpended that account, because I am tracking that
You expect that?
monthly, yeah. It's,
I don't know that she said she expects it. She said she'll tell you if it goes
I'll
over.
tell you, but I
Well,
will.
what she's saying is she now expects that account, at the end of the year, will be at least 46,078 favorable.
Yeah,
And if it falls below that amount favorable, she's gonna come back to the committee and say,
Yes.
hey, I've now overexpended an expectation, which,
And I will say that account, I think, is probably gonna stay where it is,
Yeah.
because that's our teacher salaries, and so there would not be any additional, expenses there unless we hire
yeah, no, I just,
new teachers, which we don't plan to.
if you think you can do it, then I think we'll get the end, but if you can't, then
Yes.
like what we're
Yeah.
doing here is,
Yep, no,
it's a little bit,
I keep a running tally of where everything is.
so, thank you. I make a motion to approve the 2026 expenditure report and revenue report as presented until audited.
Second.
All in favor? And that passes unanimously.
All right, so in your packet, I did include the FY27 budget priorities. I rolled up FY26 priorities. I think the Operational Budget Subcommittee will be meeting to discuss the priorities and draft what those are for the larger committee's review and discussion at the October meeting. And then also, we did create the FY27 budget calendar, so thanks to Cheryl for organizing this document. It provides a month-to-month event calendar for us to keep track, and that is a running record, so we'll update that as we learn more about certain meeting dates. And then lastly, I'll turn it over to Keith to provide an athletic complex project update of Phase 2.
Yes. So included in your packet is a summary report about the amenities building, which was deemed as Phase 2 of our athletic complex project. So I am happy to report that the work that we intended to do for that building is complete. Thanks again to Mike Gorman for his project management of that. I highlighted in the report several areas that were identified previously as needing some improvement. This was not a renovation by any stretch, but this was simply to improve the functionality of space as well as some of the utility that was in the space. So they are highlighted there. I think the two areas that are probably the most important are that the floors were redone with an epoxy surface, which has really changed the space entirely. And the second was that we did meet what was a original goal way back when of adding a concession window to the stadium facing side of the building. That was previously just storage. Now we have basically both sides of the building that can function as a concession space depending on the needs of the event. So the functionality and purpose of that is still being unpacked. The other highlight of this renovation, and thanks to Principal Bevan and Athletic Director Masserino, is that our athletic trainer is able to set up a space in that room for examinations and taping and different things like that occur, so that it's not just a mobile tent that's out and about on our athletic field. So we already are using that space for a lot of these intended purposes, and I believe Friday, Boosters is planning on using the new window for a toned down version of concession. So I am working with Mike Gorman to make sure the space is ready, and Paul Cacciatore, who has inquired about its usage. So we are excited for this. If you do have the opportunity to go out, it's worth a walk through and put your eyes on, and I think you'll notice the improvements right away. But again, thanks to Mike Gorman. He did a nice job, and the work did start in June and literally ended last week. So it came in where we wanted it to be for the second phase, and we're excited to close that chapter. It's been a long time coming.
And I did provide some photos in the packet, so and if you have a chance, we'd love to give a tour, maybe at the next school committee
Sure,
meeting.
take a walk up.
Give you a tour. And that, I believe, concludes the superintendent's report.
So next on the agenda is is old business, and we have the 25-26 subcommittee and liaison assignment list. It looks like all of our standing committees are all set. I'm not sure, Greg, the ones that are listed as vacancies, some of them say inactive. Do we need to fill?
Yes, so if it's inactive and there is a vacancy, we do not need to fill those.
Okay. And so it looks like maybe the student advisory committee still has a vacancy. So I would just ask people to email if interested, so we can fill those. Any questions?
And if you would like, you can email those to Cheryl, and she'll keep track of those.
Thank you.
For us.
Next up is policy development and distribution, not at this time. So we can move on to public comment. Is there any comment? Seeing none?
Jen?
Yes,
I have one thing to share. Last night, the Northborough Education Foundation had their grant awarding ceremony, and Greg made the opening remarks. Algonquin teachers and Sean Bevan were not able to attend because of a conflict with getting ready for their open house. But I'd just like to mention 2 grants that were awarded to Algonquin Regional High School. The first one was exploring new technology to promote statistical understanding. This grant was submitted by Carla Reynolds, mathematics teacher, which will provide the classrooms with a set of NumWorks calculators to enhance the statistics college prep course. And the second one was preserving our digital resources. This grant was submitted by Brian Callan, instructional technology mathematics teacher, and it's going to provide Blu-ray players with HDMI connections so teachers can continue using the extensive library of DVDs and digital resources they built over the years.
Thank you. So personnel, distribution of personnel report and new staff appointments.
So in your packet, and just want to thank the Human Resources team. They do a great job under Heather's leadership. So in your packet is also staff appointments, and new staff members were appointed in 25-26, and we're very excited about this particular hiring cohort and the talent they bring to us. So thank you, Heather and Sean and all the people involved in hiring talented people.
Communications, the 2025 Financial Summit.
So Northborough did hold a financial summit on August 26th. Becky and I attended, and basically it was kind of forecasting the economic conditions in the town of Northborough, and also setting some direction around, budgets for FY27. So the key takeaway is really that the town of Northborough is looking for department budgets to come in at 3%. So that is kind of a target they have set. And they also talked about conditions for an override. So we are kind of at that tipping point where both towns of Southborough and Northborough potentially could be in an override situation, either in FY27 for Northborough and potentially even in Southborough. So just good information for us as we begin the budget process.
Thank you. And then the MASC Mass Joint Conference.
So if you are interested in registering for the conference, please reach out to Cheryl. I plan on attending Thursday and Friday and attending the dinner. But if you're interested, please let Cheryl know. She'll take care of all of the accommodations.
Approval of bills and payrolls, that's done fine. And so agenda items for next month. We have the fiscal year 27 budget presentation, recognition of National Merit Scholars, Student Support Services Department presentation, and an AI discussion. Yes?
Can we get an update on the bus and if they fulfilled those things at that time?
Any other agenda items? Anything else that comes up in the meantime, you can email. I think that concludes everything today. So I will entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Is it all in, is this roll call?
Nope.
No, so all in favor? Okay, we are adjourned at 9:27.